Chapter 50:16. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian was still not afraid. An extremely terrifying light burst out from his eyes. Especially his right eye, which condensed into a mountain peak. The Reincarnation Mountain. A mountain peak pressed down on the left front, instantly enveloping the opponent's palm. Boom! An earth-shattering sound was heard, and the sky fell and the earth cracked. The iron-blooded palm was directly suppressed. The blood-colored zombie also fell to the ground, roaring crazily. There was a trace of horror in his eyes. What was going on? This sage king-like ant actually knew such a technique. He felt that half of his body was suppressed, and he could not exert any strength at all. The others were even more frightened. What a terrifying reincarnation aura. Nero and the others were even more surprised. Was this the result of Lin Xian's 5 years of cultivation? It was unbelievable. Sun Qitian also narrowed his eyes. He could see that this mountain peak was very similar to the one that suppressed him. Obviously, the mountain that suppressed him had become Lin Xian's ultimate technique. He smiled. His second brother was extremely top-notch in terms of talent and strength, so he did not have to worry at all. Thinking of this, he waved his iron staff again and charged over. Under his and Lin Xian's joint efforts, the blood-colored zombie was directly beaten into a bloody mist. There were still some treasures in the blood-colored coffin, which were also divided between him and Lin Xian. The surrounding people were incomparably shocked. Even such a powerful existence had been destroyed. It was too terrifying. However, people like Nero and the others were excited with such a powerhouse taking the lead. They would definitely be able to find treasures later. Next, they attacked again. This time, it was not only Lin Xian and Sun Qitian. Nero and the others also obtained some treasures. 10 days later, they came to a canyon, where there was also a cave residence. Obviously, there were endless treasures buried here. In addition to Lin Xian and the others, a group of people came from the opposite side of the canyon. There were about 40 people in this group, twice as many as Lin Xian's group. The aura on their bodies was extremely terrifying. These people were riding on a chariot. There was a blood-colored flag on the chariot. Was it the Blood God Alliance? Meng Yi and the others frowned. This was also an organization in hell, and it was stronger than catoptric deflection. Even if Meng Yi and the others saw him before, they would have to take a detour. He didn't expect to meet them at this moment. The members of the Blood God Alliance also looked over. Were there only 20 people? You are no match for us. If you scram now, we will spare your lives. Otherwise, all of you will die without a burial place. The other party's cold voice rang out, causing Nero and the others to furrow their brows. Sun Qitian sneered. Threatening old son. I think you guys are the ones who don't know what's good for you. I'm not leaving today. I want to see what you can do to me, old son. Sun Qitian snorted coldly and waved his iron staff, tearing the world apart. The faces of the Blood God Alliance's members sank. Did they not know what death was? The man in the lead waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "Let's go to the cave abode below to retrieve the treasure." Soon, 3 figures descended from the sky and went to the canyon. They worked together to bring a treasure box. However, halfway there, the treasure box disappeared into thin air. Damn it, what's going on? They were shocked. At the next moment, they saw a little monkey with a bowl on its head. Their treasure box was in the bowl. Damn monkey, how dare you! One of them slashed out a blood-red sword Qi, while the other 2 reached out their hands to grab Little White. You're courting death. Sun Qitian roared angrily when he saw that. He waved his iron staff and cut the world apart, turning the 2 people's hands into a bloody mist. the two of them screamed and retreated. As for the third person, Little White turned around and said while holding the purple gourd. "Gourd, please turn around." The gourd cracked open and flew out. A sword light directly split the man's head. Little White flew back and opened the treasure box. There was a piece of jade inside. It was pure white and shone brightly. Little White took a bite, and its big eyes narrowed into the shape of a crescent moon. A 50,000-year-old jade was definitely a top-notch treasure. Seeing that, the members of the Blood God Alliance on the other side had extremely ugly expressions. That was an extremely important thing to them. But now, it was snatched away halfway. He even started eating right in front of them. Was he challenging them? Kill them. The leader waved his hand, and 10 people went down to the cave abode to continue snatching treasures. The other 30 people charged toward Lin Xian and the others. It seemed that they did not intend to let Lin Xian and the others survive. Sun Qitian shouted coldly and jumped into the canyon as well. "Get lost." The iron staff directly shattered the mountain gate of the cave abode. Then, he charged in. A great battle broke out below. Lin Xian was also facing a crisis. "Everyone, fight with all your strength." Meng Yi took a deep breath. Nero and the others were also on guard. They had no choice. The other party had more people than them. Now that Sun Qitian had gone to the cave abode to snatch treasures, they could only rely on themselves. But fortunately, Lin Xian was still here. Lin Xian formed a seal with his palm and cast a lion that swept across heaven and earth. The 2 people who flew over were immediately sent flying. At the same time, Nero cast the bridge of helplessness to affect their souls. Meng Yi picked up a bowl of soup and poured it into the world. Granny Meng's soup was said to be a mysterious existence that could forget everything. It was very strange. At this moment, the people of the Blood God Alliance were also constantly retreating. However, these people were not weak either. Someone cast out a terrifying blood-colored dragon that covered the sky and earth, sweeping across tens of thousands of miles. They charged forward. Someone formed 81 snow mountains and pressed down from the sky. Someone even activated the war chariot's law, and all kinds of attacks came at them. A great battle broke out. Nero and the others were pale and kept retreating. The other party had too many people. At this time, Lin Xian made his move. Lin Xian used the Hellfire Dragon Sword. Azura Sword Art. With a slash of the sword, 3 heads flew. At the same time, the seal of the Fearless Lion was opened and closed. With every strike, a terrifying golden lion appeared and suppressed all directions. At the same time, he activated the heavenly secret divine eyes and a mountain of reincarnation pressed down. In the blink of an eye, 3 people were killed, and the other 7 were injured and retreated. In an instant, the pressure on Nero, Meng Yi, and the others was reduced by a lot. Damn it, they had an expert on their side. The people of the Blood God Alliance stared at Lin Xian in an instant, feeling incredulous. They had been staring at Nero and Meng Yi. They could see that these 2 people were very powerful, and their divine abilities were also very terrifying. But who would have thought that the strongest one was a sage king? If they did not experience it personally, they would not believe it even if they were beaten to death. After killing this kid, the others were nothing to be afraid of. In an instant, these people all charged at Lin Xian. In the sky, 81 blood-colored mountains swept across heaven and earth, completely enveloping Lin Xian. Chapter 50-17. Lin Xian also felt the immense pressure. He pushed his body to the limit. He punched in all directions, making earth-shattering sounds, but he was still forced back. There was nothing he could do. The power represented by the 81 mountains was too powerful. The person who attacked was very terrifying, but it was impossible for him to kill Lin Xian. At the critical moment, Lin Xian used heaven's shadowless net. His body disappeared and reappeared on the other side. "Kid, you're quite good, but can you escape?" The 4 people charged over. The auras of the 4 people were equally terrifying. One of them actually knew heaven's shadowless net. Lin Xian was really shocked. It seemed that this person was a top-notch assassin. The person held a killing sword in his hand. Blood dripped from it. The surrounding mountains of corpses and seas of blood were extremely terrifying. Go to hell. He did not release any aura before, but at this moment, his killing intent was shocking. Azura sword skill. The sword slashed out. Lin Xian's glabella split open. He felt his hair stand on end. So terrifying. It seems that there are still experts in hell. He struck out with the lion imprint to defend himself. The golden lion imprint blotted out the sky and covered the earth as it rushed over. It collided with the sword. The golden lion was torn apart, and Lin Xian's palm was pierced. However, his physique was extremely strong. In an instant, he caught the sword. Damn it! That person shouted angrily. Even a mid-stage great sage would be split open by that sword. However, the other party's physique was only injured and not split open. He wanted to withdraw his sword and attack again, but at that moment, Lin Xian made his move. He also used the first sword of Azura sword skill, a sure kill move. Boz. Not good. The person quickly dodged. However, its body was cleaved into 2 halves by the sword. Ah! He screamed in horror and wanted to retreat. Lin Xian raised his sword and charged over. The hellfire on it burned fiercely. Save me! At that moment, he shouted angrily. Someone came up from the distance. He was riding on a war chariot, and he charged forward violently, blocking the hellfire that filled the sky. The chariot was an extremely powerful saint weapon. It had saved the saint of slaughter. Then, a terrifying light shot out from the chariot. 4 blood-colored demonic beasts covered the sky and covered the earth. Lin Xian snorted and waved his hellfire dragon sword again. A long sword swept out in all directions. A dragon's roar rang out between heaven and earth, turning into a dragon's shadow that cut through the 9 heavens. The bodies of the 4 demonic beasts were being torn apart. Lin Xian let out a loud roar and punched out in all directions, directly tearing the entire world into 2 halves. The golden chariot was sent flying. Damn it, how could he be so powerful? The expert in the war chariot was injured, his expression ugly. Use the corpse poison we got, he roared madly. Someone took out a red gourd. After opening it, a terrifying red mist filled the air. This was an extremely potent poison that they had obtained from a cave abode. It was the poison of a top-tier great sage after his death. Lin Xian felt that his 9 divine body was about to rot. He was terrified and quickly retreated. A dragon sword aura appeared on his body and slashed across the land. At the same time, the heaven-devouring jar was thrown out, turning into countless vortexes. It swallowed all the poison. How was that possible? The people of the Blood God Alliance were stunned. The other party definitely couldn't resist this poison. They would wait until these people were seriously injured. At that time, they could easily get rid of these enemies. But now, their poison had disappeared before it could even take effect. Damn it, it's this kid again. They stared at Lin Xian and gritted their teeth. The other party had too many trump cards. They were endless. At this moment, a miserable cry came from the canyon. Then, someone escaped with injuries all over his body. The people of the Blood God Alliance were shocked. What was going on? Was there a problem with their treasure hunt too? They had sent out 4 people, but the other party only sent out 1 person. How could they not win? Lin Xian and the others heaved a sigh of relief. The corners of their mouths curled up. Great. It seemed that Sun Qitian's mission was going smoothly. However, not long after, Sun Qitian flew out. His body was shrouded in a terrifying light, forming auspicious clouds that rose into the sky. Let's go, it seems that something incredible has appeared. Sun Qitian said as he fled into the distance. Lin Xian and the others were also stunned. Sun Qitian was so terrifying. What kind of existence was it that even he was afraid of? Lin Xian and the others didn't know, but they quickly retreated. Even Nai Luo, Meng Yi, and the others retreated into the distance. The people of the Blood God Alliance didn't retreat. They were preparing to counterattack. However, at this moment, a coffin flew out from the bottom of the canyon. After it opened, a figure walked out. This figure was covered in a shroud. Only a pair of cold eyes appeared. Damn it, what is this thing? The people of the Blood God Alliance haven't left yet. The powerhouse driving the chariot shouted angrily and rushed over. The top assassin from before used the Shura sword again and attacked from behind. One from the front and one from the back. It was a fatal attack. However, the shroud enlarged and covered the 2 of them. In the next moment, the 2 of them screamed miserably as their bodies turned into blood mist and dripped from the sky. A strange laughter sounded, making people's scalps tingle. In a hurry, they only saw that it was a woman's face. Half of it was rotten. It was abnormally shocking. What is this thing? The people of the Blood God Alliance went crazy and wanted to escape. However, wherever the shroud passed, no one could escape. At the back, Nai Luo and the others saw this scene and their scalps tingled. It was too terrifying. Fortunately, Sun Qitian reminded them, otherwise, they would be in danger. They could see that the dozens of people of the Blood God Alliance were finished. None of them could survive. Sun Qitian quickly led them to retreat. They asked what was going on. Sun Qitian said, "How would I know that there was a coffin inside when I opened it? After I opened it, I found this thing. That tattered cloth was too scary. It made my hair stand on end, so I turned around and ran." Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Sun Qitian's decisiveness really surprised them. Lin Xian said, "I know what that is. That is a shroud. It is something that wraps the corpse of a great emperor." What? It wraps the corpse of a great emperor. Nai Luo and the others felt their scalps tingle. Anything related to a great emperor was definitely terrifying. Not to mention the shroud that was exclusive to a great emperor. It was even more terrifying. Sun Qitian was also terrified in his heart. No wonder it was like this. Why did it make old Sun's hair stand on end? Although he was strong, he couldn't compete with a great emperor. Only a great emperor's item could compete with the shroud of a great emperor. For example, only a few extreme weapons or the great dragon sword soul could do it. The others couldn't withstand it at all. Therefore, Lin Xian knew that the people of the Blood God Alliance were doomed. However, what surprised him was that the shroud was not in Luo Shao's hands. The rotten person from before should be Luo Shao. She actually ran to the 3rd level and even ran into the coffin. It was really strange. Who was this woman? Chapter 50:18. As for the identity of the shroud and Rakshasa, everything was a mystery. Lin Xian didn't think about it. They had completely left the area. Then, they walked in another direction. After walking for about 5 days, they stopped. There seemed to be a broken ruin in front of them. There was no sound around. Sun Qitian said, "Let's go and take a look. Maybe there are some treasures." However, Meng Yi shook his head. "No, we can't go there. We can't go there." He seemed to be very frightened. Lin Xian asked, "What's going on?" Sun Qitian said, "When did you become so timid?" "I'm here to protect you." Meng Yi shook his head. "No, it has nothing to do with being timid." Nero was also puzzled. "What do you know?" She knew that Meng Yi and the others came to the third level after a long time. So, they knew a lot about the third level. Meng Yi said, "The ruin in front is very strange. It's very famous in the third level. I've only heard about it, but I don't dare to go near it. This is the closest I've come. What's so special about this place?" Lin Xian was also surprised. Meng Yi said, "This place is very strange. No one who went in can come out. Many people from Meng Po's lineage have gone in. The oldest one was a person from 5,000 years ago. He didn't come out after 5,000 years. We once suspected that he had died. But later, we found that his soul jade tablet was still there. You have to know that this thing is still there. But he never came out. Sometimes, when you stand in the distance, you can see some figures floating back and forth in the ruins in front of you. But they can't get out of this ancient ruin." Thus, as time passed, everyone came to know that this ruin was extremely strange. There was a mysterious power. Those who went in would get lost and never come out. There's such a thing. Lin Xian was also surprised. Those who could enter the third level of the underworld were definitely not weak. But no one could walk out successfully. It was needless to say how dangerous it was. Sun Qitian frowned. "Is it so powerful? I don't believe it. I have to experience it for myself." He carried the iron rod and strode inside. Meng Yi sighed. "I've said my piece. We won't be going there again. Goodbye." After he finished speaking, he turned around and left with Meng Po's people. "What do you plan to do?" Lin Xian looked at Nero and the others. Nero said, "We will not go in either. Since it was so dangerous, they would definitely not throw themselves into the trap." Lin Xian said, "All right, then we'll split up for now. You guys have to be careful. You can team up with Meng Yi and the others. If you really can't do it, you can return to the second level." Nero was shocked. "Could it be that you want to go in as well?" Lin Xian nodded. "I also want to see what kind of god there is." After saying that, he waved his hand and followed Sun Qitian inside. "Good brother, you won't be in any danger if you follow me," Sun Qitian laughed. Lin Xian nodded, and the two of them entered the ancient ruins together. When they stepped onto the stone platform of the ancient ruins, a ball of energy enveloped them. The next moment, Lin Xian realized that Sun Qitian had disappeared. Of course, Sun Qitian also noticed this. He shouted angrily, "Brother Lin, where are you?" Light bloomed in his eyes. His martial Dao heavenly eye wanted to see through everything. However, he realized that Lin Xian was nowhere to be seen. What was going on? He bombarded the void with his iron rod, creating countless cracks, but there was still nothing. Lin Xian also realized that he could not see Sun Qitian with his heavenly secret divine eyes. It was indeed strange. Lin Xian was surprised. No wonder Meng Yi and the others did not dare to enter at all. He entered with Sun Qitian, but he could not find any trace of him. Forget it, he was not too worried. After all, Sun Qitian's bloodline and trump card were too powerful. He did not have to worry too much. Let's see what kind of god is in this place first. Lin Xian walked carefully. Suddenly, he realized that the scene around him seemed to have changed. A new world appeared in front of him, and many figures appeared. These figures all had powerful auras and terrifying figures. What is this? Lin Xian felt as if he was facing a great enemy. He wanted to hide, but he realized that those people did not seem to see him at all. He even tried to attack them, but he realized that he could not attack them. Are they illusions? Lin Xian was really surprised. At this moment, a cold voice sounded. It's useless. You can't attack them. Because this was something that happened 100,000 years ago. Who is it? Lin Xian jumped in fright and turned around to look. He saw an old man looking at him coldly. This old man's body was withered, but his eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. Lin Xian was secretly vigilant. The old man said, "Don't be afraid. We are the same. Welcome to this place of despair." Lin Xian frowned. A place of despair. What does that mean? The old man said, "I have been here for 5,000 years, and I can't get out of this place. If this is not a place of despair, then what is?" Lin Xian frowned. Why can't I get out? Isn't the way back? Lin Xian turned around and was stunned. He realized that there was no way back. There had been a change, forming a new world. The old man said, "If you see it, you won't be able to get out for the rest of your life." Lin Xian's face was cold. He did not believe it. His eyes erupted with an intense light. He wanted to get out. However, he really could not find the way back. I don't believe it. It must be an illusion. It destroyed everything. He used the power of reincarnation, wanting to penetrate everything. However, it did not seem to be an illusion. He still could not find the way. He even summoned the void beast and used the power of space to tear open a space tunnel. He wanted to escape, but it was useless. The old man said, "Don't try. For 5,000 years, we have used all kinds of methods. If you could get out, you would have done so long ago. You are a young man. No matter how many methods you have, it will be difficult for you to get out." Lin Xian's face was cold. It was indeed strange. Could this old man be the one that Meng Yi had mentioned, the one from Meng Po's lineage from 50 years ago? The other party was indeed trapped here. He said, "Senior, what is going on? Also, what are these illusions in front of us? What do they mean by 100,000 years ago?" The old man sighed. This was the scene of the Azura clan 100,000 years ago. These ruins should also be the ruins of the Azura clan. It left behind the scenes of 100,000 years ago. Those who came in could see it, but there was no way out. We once guessed that the way out was in the scenes of 100,000 years ago. However, we could not find it. Lin Xian was surprised. Could it be that there were others besides this old man? That's right. The old man nodded. Other than you and me, there are many others. They are all top geniuses and unparalleled experts. They all think that they are unparalleled in the world and do not care about anything. That is why they dared to take the risk and come in. Chapter 50-19. Let's go, I'll bring you there. The old man brought Lin Xian forward. Soon, Lin Xian found some people. There were quite a few of them. Some were gathered together, carefully observing the Azura clan's life. They seemed to want to study something. Some had already gone crazy. Their hair was messy and they were in a daze. Some of them had already given up on themselves, sitting there cross-legged in a daze. Some were trying to accumulate strength and cultivate silently. Some were even hallucinating. They felt like they were living 100,000 years ago. Lin Xian was silent. He felt a pressure. These people were the top group of people in the past few thousand years, but they had been reduced to such a state by the ruins. Could it be that he had to stay here in the future? He didn't want that. Lin Xian even used the power of the Dragon Sword Soul. The Dragon Sword Soul could destroy everything. He wanted to destroy these images and leave. But he found that the Dragon Sword Soul was not very useful. This mysterious power was too strange. It was not afraid of the Dragon Sword Soul's power. Then what was this? Damn, kid, why did you come here? When Lin Xian was alone, the Hellfire Dragon Sword flew out. He was stunned when he saw the scene. Where was this? Wasn't this the Azura clan? The Xiao clan should not be here anymore. Why was there still here? The Hellfire Dragon was stunned. Lin Xian told it what happened. The Hellfire Dragon was stunned. You knew it was dangerous and you still dared to come. Are you crazy? Lin Xian said, aren't people good? I came here to train and improve my strength. How could I not come to see such a place? Do you know anything about this place? Hearing this, the Hellfire Dragon Sword flew around and said, damn it. Could it be the power of time? The power of time. Lin Xian was shocked. The Hellfire Dragon Sword said, yes, the power of time. Among the thousands of laws, there was a saying that space was king and time was king. The space law was already shocking. The time law was even scarier. It could be said to be unparalleled. However, the time law was too rare. It was very rare to see it. He didn't expect that there would be the law of time in this ancient ruin. After Lin Xian heard this, he was also surprised. Are you saying that these scenes from 100,000 years ago were left behind because of the laws of time? That should be the case. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to still have it. You should have heard of the 5 swords of the world, right? The great dragon sword's attack was unparalleled, the devouring sword devoured all things, and the heavenly punishment sword possessed all kinds of heaven and earth anomalies. The 6 paths of reincarnation of the Samsara sword. There was another one, which was the spacetime space. It possessed the power of time and space, and was extremely mysterious. Kid, you better pray that this place has nothing to do with Sikongjian. Otherwise, you can forget about leaving this place for the rest of your life. The more the Hellfire Dragon Sword spoke, the more depressed it became. How did I fall into your hands? He realized that every time Lin Xian did something, it was too shocking and shocking. Lin Xian was also surprised. The Sword of Spacetime. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible because this place did not fear his great dragon sword soul at all. Perhaps only the power of the spacetime sword, which was also one of the 5 swords of the world, possessed such power. But how was he going to leave? Or was there a chance to obtain the power of time here? Next, Lin Xian began to search for all kinds of possibilities. In the end, he found nothing. However, on this day, he was stunned. He realized that the Azura clan had encountered an apocalyptic disaster. The sun and moon of the entire world were in the same sky. A huge crack appeared in the sky, and countless terrifying energy poured down. The entire world was torn into pieces. The Azura clan fell in droves. What kind of power was this? The Hellfire Dragon Sword also saw it. He exclaimed. The power of heaven's punishment. Damn it, were the Azura clan killed by the heaven's punishment sword? This was an earth-shattering secret. Who would have thought that this scene would be completely recorded, and even appear here? However, it seemed that those who saw it would never be able to leave, so this secret couldn't be spread. The power of heaven's punishment sword. It actually destroyed an extremely terrifying ancient clan. Lin Xian looked at this scene and was extremely shocked. Who had the Heaven's Punishment Sword? Why did they attack the Azura clan? The power of Heaven's Punishment Sword disappeared, and the Azura clan was dying. At this moment, Lin Xian realized that a Azura clan girl had collapsed beside him. At this moment, the girl looked up at the sky with despair. Who can help me? Damn it, I want to help you, but how? The Hellfire Dragon sword roared unhappily. The girl suddenly turned her head and stared at the Hellfire Dragon sword. Do you really want to help me? The Hellfire Dragon sword was shocked and flew away. Heavens, is he talking to me? He's been dead for 100,000 years. Is he talking to me? He's really crazy. Lin Xian felt his hair stand on end. It can't be a coincidence, can it? He asked the girl again, but found that the girl was already dead. Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. The Hellfire Dragon sword also flew over and looked at this scene. Illusion, it must be an illusion. Lin Xian said, maybe he's really talking to you. The Hellfire Dragon sword's hair stood on end. Kid, don't scare me. Although I'm a sword, I can be scared too. Lin Xian frowned. How mysterious is the power of time. We can see what happened 100,000 years ago. Do you think the people from 100,000 years ago can sense our existence? This. The Hellfire Dragon sword was stunned. He said, how would I know? I've never felt the power of time, and I can't answer you. What did you find? At this moment, the elder from Meng Po's line walked over and asked with a frown. Lin Xian said, Senior, will this scene appear again? The elder looked at the destroyed world in front of him and said, it will appear every once in a while. This scene is repeated, and I'm tired of it. Lin Xian was shocked. Didn't you see anyone begging you for help? The elder said, beg me? Who? Were they from the Azura clan? How can I help with something that happened 100,000 years ago? After saying that, he shook his head. Young man, have you gone crazy? Lin Xian frowned. He even thought it was funny. Yes, something that happened 100,000 years ago. How could they help now? However, he still decided to try, so he didn't move. He continued to stand there and wait. He wanted to wait for this scene to appear again. He wanted to wait for the Azura clan girl to ask him for help again. Lin Xian waited for a year. After a year, the same scene appeared again. The heavenly punishment sword destroyed the world. The Azura clan was torn apart and destroyed. At the place where Lin Xian was, a girl fell down with blood all over her body. Chapter 50-20. Looking at this scene, Lin Xian took a deep breath. It was the same scene from a year ago. This time, he would not miss it. He said, I am willing to help you. Is that true? The woman turned her head to look at the void. It seemed like she was looking at Lin Xian. Lin Xian's heart was beating wildly at this moment. He was in a daze. But he quickly regained his senses and said, it's true, I am willing to help you. Lin Xian actually wanted to say, what should he do, but he did not say it. He was afraid that the woman would reject him. The woman laughed bitterly. If only I did not send my brother to the Valley of Despair 3 years ago, that would be great. I could stop him, I could bring your brother back safely from the Valley of Despair. Lin Xian said this even though he didn't have much hope for it. But after he finished speaking, he felt his body being enveloped by a mysterious aura. The next moment, he disappeared. Damn, what's going on? The Hellfire Dragon saw this and roared crazily. But he realized that Lin Xian's figure seemed to have really disappeared. When Lin Xian regained his senses, he realized that his surroundings had changed. It was no longer a broken wall, nor was it a scene, but a real world. He realized that many eyes were staring at him with disdain and sneers. Lin Xian was shocked. The people of the Shura clan, he could really feel the aura of these people. What's going on? The Shura clan had been destroyed 100,000 years ago. How could he still feel it? Could it be that she had returned to 100,000 years ago? This was a very bold idea, but he could not help but doubt it. Because the woman of the Shura clan, her last desperate request, Lin Xian agreed. Then he was enveloped by a force, who knew if it was the power of time, bringing him back to 100,000 years ago. Why was it so dreamy? Lin Xian's mind was in a daze. And he realized that only he came, the Hellfire Dragon's sword beside him did not seem to come. But the sword world was still there. Little White was still sleeping in the sword world, which made him heave a sigh of relief. He did not know, if he appeared 100,000 years ago, would the Hellfire Dragon sword and the people trapped in the ruins be able to see him? If they saw him, they would be scared silly. Lin Xian thought of this and quickly changed his appearance. Then he calmed down. This happened because he promised the woman in despair to save her brother, at least 3 years. Although he knew that it was possible, in the end, he would still be destroyed along with the Shura clan. But since he agreed to the other's request, he had to bring him back. The Shura clan, first, he had to find the woman. Then find out who her brother was. Only then could he help her brother. Lin Xian's eyes shone brightly as he secretly used his Heavenly Secrets ability to search for that woman. Because the woman Shura that woman's identity was not simple, she was actually the princess of the Shura clan. Then her younger brother should be the prince of the Shura clan. No wonder the other party was able to talk to him after 100,000 years. It was obvious that the other party's identity was different. Shura princess. Taking advantage of the opportunity when the other party went out to play, Lin Xian immediately intercepted him halfway. Countless powerful Shura clan rankers appeared around the war chariot, holding on to their blades and swords as they stared at Lin Xian. Who are you? How dare you be rude to our princess? Angry shouts rang out one after another, and Lin Xian felt his blood boil. This was the Shura clan, too powerful. Hell Shura, you really live up to your reputation. Lin Xian said, don't misunderstand, I don't have any ill intentions. I'm here to find the Shura prince. I heard that he's the princess's younger brother, but I don't know where he is recently, so I came to disturb the princess. A beautiful figure walked down from the war chariot, looked at Lin Xian and said, my brother went to the Misty Rain Tower. If you want to find him, go to the Misty Rain Tower. Oh right, if you find him, tell him to come back quickly. Father and mother miss him very much, tell him to come back quickly. Don't worry, princess, I'll definitely tell him. Where is the Misty Rain Tower? The Shura princess threw a token over and said. Bring him to the Misty Rain Tower. Yes. Then, he looked at Lin Xian and said, follow me. He brought Lin Xian into the distance and arrived at an ancient city. There was an altar and a teleportation array inside. He said, go up, I'll teleport you to the Misty Rain Tower. Lin Xian walked up and was teleported away. When he reappeared, he was already in the endless void. Lin Xian said, could it be wrong? Shouldn't the Misty Rain Tower be in some city? But soon, he realized that wasn't the case. In the starry sky near him, there was an ancient tower floating in the universe. It was surrounded by misty rain and looked very dreamy. Lin Xian was dumbfounded. It was too unbelievable that such a thing could exist. Was this the Misty Rain Tower? Lin Xian walked forward. He realized that there were many war chariots and spirit boats passing by quickly and stopping in the starry sky. Then, powerful figures walked out one after another and entered the misty rain tower. From the looks of it, this should be a place where top experts and geniuses gathered. Lin Xian also walked in. "Who are you?" It was very unfamiliar. Just as Lin Xian was about to enter, a man walked out and stared at him. He stared at Lin Xian in an instant. His eyes were like two balls of divine fire that could see through everything. Even Lin Xian's heart was pounding. Lin Xian said coldly, "Who are you? Do you know everyone here?" The man said, "I know everyone who frequents here. I can tell you their family and background. But I've never seen you before and I can't sense your aura. Which family are you from? Which family are you from?" Lin Xian frowned. He didn't expect to be targeted the moment he arrived. Moreover, he was targeted by someone from 100,000 years ago. But so what? He came from the future. He wanted to see how these people would deal with him. The tall man's eyes were filled with arrogance. "I'm Zhang Tian, from the Z Mansion." Lin Xian's pupils shrank. The Z Mansion from 100,000 years ago hadn't been destroyed yet. Moreover, they had such an expert. "Tell me your background." Zhang Tian's eyes shone with a terrifying light. Lin Xian thought, should I tell him or pretend to be someone else? After thinking about it, he didn't say anything. Instead, he stood with his hands behind his back and said indifferently, "I'm not someone you can imagine." Deliberately mystifying. Zhang Tian was instantly enraged and his face darkened. Was he looking down on him? However, he didn't know that Lin Xian wasn't lying. Lin Xian was someone the other party couldn't imagine. Chapter 50-21. When Warsky heard this, he was completely enraged. An extremely terrifying power erupted from his body. He was born to stand, as if he was a god of war. He took a step forward, causing the surrounding area to collapse. He stared at Lin Xian and said coldly, "I'll give you one last chance. Tell me who you are. Otherwise, I'll send you to hell." Lin Xian sneered and did not answer. To be honest, he also wanted to fight with the powerhouse from 100,000 years ago. He wanted to see how strong he was. "If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Zhang Tian snorted coldly and pointed his finger forward. Finger of war. This finger pierced through the void like a golden divine sword, dazzling and eye-catching. It directly attacked Lin Xian's forehead. This power was really too strong. Everywhere it passed, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Nothing could stop it. Humph. Lin Xian snorted coldly and his body also erupted with endless light. He was like the sun god of war in a painting as he slapped out with his palm. The golden palm descended like the sun, and its terrifying power was extremely strong. The two collided, and a terrifying aura spread out in all directions. Endless large cracks appeared, and the entire sky was completely turned into chaos. "You can actually block it." Warsky was stunned. He originally thought that this finger would definitely kill Lin Xian. However, he did not expect Lin Xian to really block it. This was interesting. He stretched out his finger again, and the aura on it became even sharper. Obviously, he did not use all of his power previously. This time, he was going to use all of his strength. However, at this moment, a shocking aura came from afar. An endless storm swept out in all directions, followed by a cold snort. This voice was like thunder, and it charged towards Warsky. Warsky ignored Lin Xian and looked up at the sky. At the same time, the power in his body also erupted. The god of war appeared again and swept through the 9 heavens. The two collided. The power was even more terrifying. Lin Xian kept retreating. He used Shadowless Heaven's net and disappeared without a trace like smoke, dodging these attacks. He stood in the air, his brows furrowed tightly. So strong. This war sky was very powerful. At the same time, he was shocked. Another expert had arrived, and this time, he directly charged towards War Sky. Who was it? Lin Xian's eyes flashed with golden light as he looked up into the sky. In the sky, a man wearing battle armor descended from the sky. This man's aura was extremely terrifying. He held a battle spear in his hand. His face was handsome, and there was a demonic mark between his eyebrows that looked like a closed eye. When he arrived, he first glanced at Lin Xian and revealed a trace of surprise. He then looked at War Sky and said coldly, "You actually dare to appear here? Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? Yang Xianxing, you think too highly of yourself. Who do you think you are? Your heavenly court simply can't compare to our Zifu palace." After Lin Xian heard this, he sucked in a breath of cold air. People from the heavenly court. This man in battle armor was actually an expert from the heavenly court. It was truly unbelievable. 100,000 years ago, the heavenly court and the purple palace still existed. It seemed that at this time, the two sides were sworn enemies. The two in front of him exchanged a few words and directly started fighting. War Sky was very powerful. He was like a god of war, and every move he made contained the power of heaven and earth. Lin Xian was also shocked. However, the armored man, Yang Xianxing, was still not afraid at all. He waved the battle spear in his hand, and with endless laws, he slashed forward. The two sides fought fiercely. The battle between the two had long alarmed everyone. In front, the people in the Misty Rain Tower also walked out. There were even people standing at the windows of the Misty Rain Tower and looking outside. A series of discussions sounded. It was actually the two of them. Were the Heavenly Court and the Purple Palace going to fight again? Both of them were top-notch experts. Who would be the stronger one in this exchange? Lin Xian was also surprised. As expected of a top expert, the laws of divine ability and battle experience were really too strong. Even if he went up, it would be difficult for him to suppress the other party. Lin Xian was watching from a close distance. Suddenly, his pupils shrank. Because he found that the other party was pointing at him again. The golden finger turned into a giant sword and slashed at him. "Die, you ant!" War Sky was very angry. He and Yang Xianxing were both top experts who had been famous for a long time. They were fighting, and an ant was watching from a close distance. This was unbearable for him. Therefore, he was prepared to kill Lin Xian first. Lin Xian was also angry. His face darkened and his figure swayed, instantly dodging. At the same time, he slashed out with the Azura sword art. The sword slashed out, and it turned into a fatal blow between heaven and earth, directly stabbing at the other party's throat. "What a fast sword!" the people in the distance exclaimed. War Sky was also shocked. He formed a seal with both hands to resist the sword. With a clang, he shattered the long sword and then took a step back. His whole arm was numb. Damn it! His face became incomparably ugly. The surrounding people exclaimed. Who was this person? He could actually resist Warsky's attack. It was too unbelievable. They didn't know him. Could it be that he was a new genius? A series of discussions took place. Even Yang Xianxing turned around and glanced at Qin Nan. He looked at Lin Xian with a trace of doubt. Lin Xian showed a kind smile to the other party. The other party was from the Heavenly Court. And he also belonged to the Heavenly Court 100,000 years later. both of them belonged to the same camp. Therefore, he was naturally kind to the other party. Why? You want to fight one-on-one? At this time, another person from the Purple Mansion walked out of the Misty Rain Tower and shouted coldly. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back and said coldly. There was no need to fight 2-on-1. He wasn't qualified. His words caused an uproar in the Misty Rain Tower. Who was this young man? He was too arrogant. Yes, did he not put Warsky in his eyes? Countless discussions sounded. Warsky's face was gloomy. Kid, you're courting death. I'll deal with you first. He looked at Yang Xianqing and said coldly. We'll fight later. Don't worry. You won't have to wait long. 3 moves. I only need 3 moves to kill this ant. At that time, we'll decide the winner. After saying that, Warsky looked at Lin Xian and said coldly, come on, kid. Brat, come at me. Show me your strongest strength. I'll let you know what despair is. Countless people exclaimed. This unfamiliar kid was dead for sure. Ha! He had thoroughly offended Warsky. There was no need for 3 moves. When Warsky got serious, 1 move would be enough to kill him. I want to see what qualifications he has to be so arrogant to Warsky. Discussions sounded one after another. Obviously, these people didn't think highly of Lin Xian. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes as well, finishing him off in 3 moves. It wasn't the first time he heard such arrogant words, but he was still alive. He walked out and said, okay, I'll see how you kill me in 3 moves. Chapter 50-22. Lin Xian walked forward, waved his hand, and said loudly, let's go. Let's see what right you have to say such big words. He seemed to have a very disdainful expression. Countless people exclaimed. This young man was about to die, yet he still dared to be arrogant. If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Heaven battling divine fist. He waved his hand and threw out a punch. Countless people exclaimed. Heavens, that was the ultimate technique that made heaven battling famous. That kid was really going to die. With 1 punch, the surrounding universe kept shattering. Nothing could stop it. Lin Xian also felt a huge pressure. He also clenched his hand into a fist and threw it forward. The power of his divine body was unleashed to the extreme. 1 punch to split the sky. No way, this guy wants to fight heaven battling head-on. Where did his confidence come from? Did he know that heaven battling had the legendary physique of the god of war? That was one of the strongest physiques in the universe. Who could resist it? Stupid thing. Some people looked at Lin Xian and sneered while shaking their heads. Heaven battling also said, I thought you had some strength, but now it seems that you are stupid. It was over. His fist swung over and collided with Lin Xian's fist. A thunderous sound was heard, and millions of thunderbolts flashed between heaven and earth. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled as if the world was about to end. Fortunately, this was the starry sky of the universe. Otherwise, if they were to fight on a certain star, that star would have long been shattered into pieces. After the collision, the 2 figures retreated. How was that possible? Countless people were stunned. The situation they imagined did not happen. In their opinion, Lin Xian could not block that punch at all. He would be blasted into a bloody mist and destroyed in both body and soul. But now, that did not happen. The other party blocked it. Damn it, how did he do it? How terrifying was this kid's physique? Countless people were shocked. Heaven battling pupils also constricted. He could not believe that the other party could block his fist. Was the other party's strength already comparable to his? Even young Xianqing, who was watching the battle from the side, was also surprised and narrowed his eyes. He had always thought that Lin Xian was very mysterious, and now it seemed that he was indeed strong. However, this person had never appeared before. Could it be that he had been silently cultivating all this time? He was too good at enduring. Lin Xian's arm was also a little numb. He had to admit that the other party was a powerful enemy. However, he quickly circulated the art of immortality and restored his arm to its original state. He stretched out a finger and pointed to the front. One move has already passed, there are still 2 moves left. You'd better bring out your true abilities. Otherwise, don't blame me for killing you. How arrogant! Boundless arrogance. Countless people were in an uproar. How terrifying was Zhang Tian's name in this starry sky. Now, there was actually someone who didn't put him in their eyes. Brat, you've completely angered me. He waved his arm as if it had turned into a peerless divine sword, slashing downward. The endless stars became dim and lightless. This sword was called the heaven-cleaving sword, and it had once easily cleaved a world in half. It could be said to be terrifying to the extreme. Now that he had used it, it once again caused countless cries of surprise. This punch was even more terrifying than the previous one. Could this brat withstand it? Was he using his ultimate skill again? Lin Xian snorted coldly, still not afraid. 6-path fist. He threw out a punch with an indomitable will, carrying with it an aura that could destroy everything. Around his fist, there were phantoms of 6 worlds circling around, as if there were 6 paths of reincarnation. Boom! Clang! An intense collision sounded, and the heaven-cleaving sword was blocked in midair. The phantoms of 6 worlds kept circling around, resisting the sword head-on. Countless people were shocked. What kind of fist technique is this? Why do I feel a trace of incomparably mysterious power? Young Xianqing frowned tightly. The power of reincarnation, could it be the 6-path fist of reincarnation? How did he use it? Was he related to the Heaven and Earth Emperor? Countless people were shocked. Naturally, some people in the Misty Rain Tower recognized it. This was the power of reincarnation. Exclamations sounded one after another. Among them, there were a few figures who were also shocked. Among them, a young man's eyes were shining. This person was so powerful. He had red hair and a handsome face, which was the symbol of the Azura race. His fiery red hair was unusually eye-catching, and there were many people beside him. One person said, "Your Highness, do you want to investigate his background?" Azura, you nodded. "I am very interested in this person, and I must know his identity. And I must try my best to rope him in. This way, our chances of success should be much higher." However, beside him, there were also people who frowned. Prince, could he really block Worski's 3rd move? To be honest, they didn't dare to believe it. Worski was such a terrifying existence. Azura Yu's eyes were shining. He said, "Just wait and see, I believe he can do it. Even if he can't, I will do my best to protect him." Azura Yu had already decided that even if Lin Xian was defeated, he would reveal his identity and save him. The surrounding people were shocked because they found that the heaven-cleaving sword was also blocked by the other party. This was too unbelievable. This kid was really so powerful. Lin Xian said, "There is still a 3rd move, have you thought about what secret art you will use?" Zhang Tian's face was so dark that it was frightening. He had made a bold statement before. He had said that he would kill the other party in 3 moves, but he couldn't do it now. The 3rd move must kill the other party. Thinking of this, he took a step forward, and the laws on his body kept spinning. It formed an illusory world. The world of battles, this was a world that he evolved with his bloodline and laws. It was his own world, and he was the master here. Everything could be over. The world of battles shrouded Lin Xian. The power inside was enough to shatter everything. Not good, Lin Xian's pupils also dilated. He just wanted to feel the horror of this move. In the next moment, he roared, and the blood seal in his palm condensed endless golden light, turning into a golden lion that charged forward. Fearless Lion Seal. The golden lion roared to the sky, tearing the 9 heavens. It waved its 2 techniques, turning the whole world upside down. Worski's body kept shaking, and his face was full of shock. Countless people were in an uproar. Yang Xianqing's pupils shrank. Fearless Lion Seal, how could it be? This was the Golden Lion King's secret art. How could he? He was really shocked. With a roar, he waved the war spear in his hand, turning it into a waterfall, and charged forward. The world of battles was already shaking, and with Yang Xianqing's full-strength attack, the world of battles directly tore a big crack. Warsky vomited blood and flew backward. The people of Zifu rushed over and shouted. Yang Xianqing, what are you doing? Are you trying to sneak attack? Damn it, my Zifu will not let you go. However, Yang Xianqing didn't care at all. He stared at Lin Xian and asked coldly, how do you know Fearless Lion Seal? What is your relationship with the Golden Lion King? Tell me your origin. Chapter 50-23. Lin Xian frowned. Not good, I didn't expect the Golden Lion King to be from this era. Once he used it, there was a problem. Yang Xianqing suspected him. How was Lin Xian going to explain? Say that he knew the Golden Lion King. If he provoked the Golden Lion King, it would be even more troublesome. Lin Xian was still hesitating about how to explain. But from Yang Xianqing's point of view, he was obviously guilty. He shouted coldly. If you don't say it, then I'll do it myself. He waved the war spear in his hand. Yang Xianqing's strength was not weaker than Worski's at all, so he attacked forcefully and destroyed the stars. Lin Xian's figure swayed. He used Shadowless Heaven's net and kept dodging. He said, wait, this is a misunderstanding. He wanted to say something, but his figure suddenly disappeared. Want to leave? Yang Xianqing shouted angrily and formed a seal with his palm. The demonic mark between his eyebrows released a terrifying aura. Then, it suddenly opened. It turned into a purple eye that pierced through the sky. Divine Eye of Prominence. Many people were shocked. Their souls shook. Some people quickly retreated. They knew that Yang Xianqing's third eye was too terrifying. It was enough to destroy everything. As expected, one of the stars in the distance instantly collapsed under the gaze of this gaze. The endless starry sky was drawn into darkness. This gaze was terrifying, but Yang Xianqing's brows were tightly knitted together. Disappeared. He realized that the other party had really disappeared. Under his divine eye, he seemed to be unable to see the other party. Damn it, did he teleport away? But he didn't seem to feel the laws of space. Damn it. Warsky also gritted his teeth and roared, searching frantically. The other people were in an uproar. Shura Yu frowned and went to check what was going on. The experts of the Shura clan beside him also checked, but in the end, they got the same result. The other party had disappeared. It seemed that they could no longer find him. Where could he have gone? Everyone was very confused. Lin Xian was even more shocked. He seemed to have entered the torrent of time. He was shuttling back and forth quickly. Damn it, what's going on? Why did he have to go back? Could it be that he had to return to reality? But this time was too short. He didn't complete the Shura princess's request at all. Something must have happened during the process. Lin Xian furrowed his brows. The mark of the fearless lion should be this. Perhaps it was because he used the fearless lion seal in front of the heavenly court's people. This triggered a series of suspicions. He knew that the world was all about cause and effect. What happened 100,000 years ago had already happened. His past had obviously changed the situation. That's why this happened. With a sigh, Lin Xian shook his head. The power of time was too mysterious. He didn't know what to do. However, at that moment, a badge in his storage ring shone brightly and enveloped him. What is this? Lin Xian was shocked. He knew that this token was given to him by the Shura princess. Could he actually stop time now? Lin Xian realized that his figure seemed to be returning to 100,000 years ago. He was too shocked. The Azura race definitely had something to do with the power of time. Perhaps the Shura princess had mastered the space-time sword? He wasn't sure. However, he seemed to know the reason behind the Azura clan's demise. If the Azura clan really did control the power of time, it was enough to make anyone fearful. Light flickered. Lin Xian realized that he had returned to the universe's starry sky. He returned to the Misty Rain Pavilion and found that those people had already left. Moreover, it was already a year later. It had been a year since his last battle with War Sky. The power of time was too strange. No, there were still 2 years. I wonder if the Azura prince had entered the land of death. Lin Xian found someone in the Misty Rain Pavilion and asked about the situation in Death Valley. Then, he quickly set off. That person didn't react at first. However, he soon cried out in surprise. Heavens, isn't that the person who fought with War Sky a year ago? He actually came back again. What? Are you talking about that mysterious expert? Where is he? They all searched, but Lin Xian was too fast. By the time they came back to their senses, Lin Xian had already disappeared. He had asked about Death Valley before, and it seemed that he was heading there. Should we go and take a look? Hearing this, the others quickly shook their heads. Forget it. That's the land of death. The great sage will definitely die if he goes in. I don't want to die there. Death Valley, a place of despair. It was a very scary place in the universe. Legend has it that after entering, no one had ever come out alive. At this moment, Lin Xian came to the place based on the information he received. He found that there was a valley in front of him. It was abnormally scary. The aura of death made him frown. Such a scary place. Why did Azura Yu come here? However, from the looks of it, Azura Yu probably went in and never came out. Did he want to go in? If he was trapped here, it would be fun. He came from 100,000 years in the future. If he was trapped here, he probably wouldn't be able to get out. No one would even know that he died here. Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. At this moment, he seemed to have thought of something and entered the sword world. He looked at the Hellfire Dragon who was still expanding his territory. Lin Xian said, "Old thing, come here." The Hellfire Dragon was very angry. He walked over and said, "Kid, what are you trying to do? Although I was sealed by that old man, it doesn't mean that you can order me around." Lin Xian smiled, "It's not good to be a coolie all the time. Do you want to go out and give you a chance?" "What chance?" The Hellfire Dragon's eyes lit up. Although he was just a remnant soul, he really wanted to go out. Lin Xian said, "Death Valley, a place of despair. I've never heard of it." The Hellfire Dragon was shocked. "Why would you go to such a place? Do you want to die?" Why do you care so much? I'm just asking if you know. If you don't know, you won't have a chance. Lin Xian felt that the Hellfire Dragon had lived for countless years. Although he was suppressed, he was still a terrifying existence back then. So he wanted to ask if he knew. The Hellfire Dragon said, "You don't say, I do know this place. I've even been in there before." "You've been in there before?" Lin Xian was stunned and frowned. Didn't they say that this was a place of death? No one who went in had ever come out alive. The Hellfire Dragon snorted. This was indeed a place of death. But no one came out. It was too exaggerated. Plus, what kind of existence am I? When I was at my peak, I was a supreme existence. It's not something you can imagine. I went in and came out normal. Seeing Lin Xian's confused gaze, the Hellfire Dragon was furious. He snorted. I only went in for a short distance and came back. Chapter 50-24. Lin Xian asked, "Why are you going in? What's the point of going to such a dangerous place?" This was also what he was very confused about. What was Azuryu planning? Because there was a legend that there were two emperors who entered Death Valley in their later years and never came out. Some people speculated that the two of them died inside. Think about it, if the two emperors died inside, then their Earth inheritance must be inside too. I went there because I heard this legend. Who doesn't want the inheritance of the emperors? Lin Xian was shocked after hearing this. There was such a thing. He finally understood why Azuryu wanted to go in. Azuryu, no matter how talented he was, it was too difficult for him to become an emperor. He probably went in for the inheritance of the emperors. Thinking of this, he was also excited and curious and prepared to go in. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian entered Death Valley. After entering, a terrifying aura of death shrouded him. Lin Xian snorted and activated the Tai Chi diagram. The Tai Chi diagram rotated to block it. It blocked the aura of death. Then, he continued to walk in. The aura inside was very terrifying. There was no sound at all. Suddenly, Lin Xian felt someone patting him from behind. He turned around immediately but found no one. What was going on? Was it an illusion? Maybe he was too nervous. He looked carefully with the Tianji God eyes, but there was still no figure. He let out a sigh of relief and prepared to leave. Suddenly, he was stunned and his body froze. This was because he found a claw mark on the back of his shoulder. It was obvious that something had hit him just now. Damn it, this Death Valley was too strange. He couldn't see through it even with the Tianji God child. What kind of existence was it? Lin Xian asked the Hellfire Dragon. The Hellfire Dragon said, "You saw that thing too." "I saw it too. A small thing, nothing to be afraid of." Lin Xian heard and rolled his eyes. Nothing to be afraid of. That was using the Hellfire Dragon's cultivation. The Hellfire Dragon was no weaker than Xia Jiuyo at his peak. Lin Xian couldn't compare at all. The Hellfire Dragon did not care, but that did not mean he did not care. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian used Shadowless Heaven's net and moved quickly. Fortunately, the mysterious existence did not slap him again. That was a relief to him. After walking for about half a day, a frightened voice suddenly came from the front. There seemed to be people roaring and fighting. Lin Xian frowned and rushed over. The next moment, he saw a shocking scene. There was a red storm ahead. Red claws emerged from the red storm and instantly enveloped the two great sage. Then, it was torn to pieces. Lin Xian was shocked. There was actually a saint here. But what was that red storm and claw? Was there a monster inside? The Hellfire Dragon said, "Kid, leave quickly, don't provoke the existence inside." Lin Xian sucked in a breath of cold air. If even the Hellfire Dragon said so, it meant that it was extremely dangerous. He quickly retreated. The people in front also saw it. When they saw Lin Xian, they were stunned. Then, they said, "Friend, please save us. We are willing to give you a treasure." Lin Xian sneered. He was unmoved. What a joke. He didn't have the ability to save these people. He quickly dodged. The people in front screamed in despair. In the end, no one could escape. After the red storm disappeared, Lin Xian walked up. He realized that the people in front were all dead. These people recognized him. That meant that they must have seen him in the Misty Rain Tower. According to Zhang Tian, those who could enter the Misty Rain Tower were all top-notch in strength and identity. But even so, these people still died here. Lin Xian's face was extremely cold. This place was more dangerous than he thought. Fortunately, he had the Hellfire Dragon's reminder. He asked, "What should I do next?" The Hellfire Dragon said and walked forward. There was an underground river there. That river is dried up and is equivalent to a passageway. You can walk along that river. You should be able to go inside. This way, it would be less dangerous. Lin Xian nodded. He followed the Hellfire Dragon's instructions and started to look for the dry river. After walking for about 3 days, Lin Xian stopped. His brows were tightly knitted together. Because he did see a river. However, it wasn't a dry river. There was water. The blood-red river water was like blood vessels on the ground. Lin Xian frowned and said, "This is the dry river you mentioned." The Hellfire Dragon took a look and was surprised. "That's not right. The last time I came here, it was dry. Why is there water now? And it doesn't seem to be water. It's blood." "Kid, the last time I came here, I don't know how many tens of thousands of years ago it was. These years, there have been new changes here. It's something I don't know. So you have to be more careful." Lin Xian nodded. It was obvious that there were some changes here. Suddenly, he was stunned. He realized that there were a few figures floating over from the blood river. There were 3 of them. This surprised Lin Xian. When he took a closer look, his pupils shrank even more. He waved his hand and a golden hand appeared, grabbing towards the front. It instantly covered the 3 people and brought them out. These people were none other than Xiao Luo Yu and the other 2 from the Shura clan. Their eyes were closed and their faces were pale. There was no aura on them at all. This caused Lin Xian to frown. Could it be that he had already fallen? Was I too late? No, the 3 of them are not dead. The Hellfire Dragon said. Lin Xian was happy. Do you know what happened to them? Lin Xian had already checked. These people didn't seem to be injured, but they didn't have any aura. The Hellfire Dragon said that they had no souls. Their souls were taken away. This was why they couldn't wake up. No souls. Lin Xian frowned. The Hellfire Dragon said that humans had 3 souls and 7 spirits. They were all called souls. But there were still differences. One of their souls and one of their spirits were taken away. So, it could be said that their souls were not complete. Then where were they taken to? Hearing that the 3 of them were not dead and there was still hope, Lin Xian let out a sigh of relief. The Hellfire Dragon thought about it and said, "It should be related to this blood river." "Kid, are you sure you want to take the risk?" Lin Xian said, "Go try. At least bring Xiao Luo Yu back safely." He had no choice. He had already promised the Shura princess. This was the only way for him to get out of the Shura ruins. Or else, he might be trapped here forever and never be able to go back. Chapter 50-25. Lin Xian walked towards the blood river and stepped into it. In the next moment, he felt an endless murderous aura surging towards him, as if it wanted to rot his body. At the same time, it affected his soul. Lin Xian snorted coldly. The 9-yang divine body shone brightly, and endless sun runes appeared on his body. The heavenly secret divine eye in his eyes shone brightly, as if a god was looking down on the world. It was to resist the power of the blood river. Lin Xian walked towards the depths of the blood river, going against the current. After walking for about half a day, Lin Xian felt his soul shudder. He stopped. At this moment, there was an invisible force that wanted to take his soul away. Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. Perhaps it was this power that had caused Azura Yu and the others to fall unconscious. What should he do? His eyes shone with a terrifying light as he investigated. He wanted to find the source of this force, but he found that it was impossible. It was too mysterious. It seemed that he could only beat them at their own game. Lin Xian sat down cross-legged and took out the heaven-devouring jar. His body sat inside the heaven-devouring jar. With half an extreme-grade weapon protecting his physique, Lin Xian didn't have to worry about anything. Next, the great dragon sword soul in Lin Xian's body shone brightly and merged with his soul. Then, Lin Xian no longer blocked it. He followed the force and his soul left his body. Then, he quickly entered the depths of the blood river. In the depths of the blood river, there was a blood-colored pagoda. It was very small, only the size of a palm, and it shone with a demonic light. There were mysterious runes on it. The force that attracted the soul came from here. Lin Xian's soul looked at this scene and was shocked. In the next moment, he felt that he had entered the blood-colored pagoda. After entering, Lin Xian was surprised. The inside of the pagoda had its own space, and it was very strange. The inside of the pagoda also had a blood-colored aura, and there were blood-colored pillars one after another. On the pillars, there were numerous malevolent faces. They were all in extreme pain. Some were roaring crazily, while others were in despair and had lifeless eyes. Were these all souls? Lin Xian was shocked. The blood-red pagoda had actually collected so many souls. What was the other party trying to do? Who was the owner of the pagoda? Lin Xian didn't know any of this because Lin Xian was only a soul. Wang. At this moment, a brilliant light blossomed in all directions. On one of the blood-colored pillars, a blood-colored rune suddenly appeared. They joined together to form a blood-red chain that shot towards Lin Xian's soul. In an instant, it enveloped Lin Xian's soul and tried to pull him into the blood-colored pillar. Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. In the next moment, the corners of his mouth curled up as he snorted coldly. His soul blossomed, and a terrifying radiance blocked the blood-red chains. At the same time, he quickly used his soul to search. Soon, he discovered 3 ferocious faces in the stone pillar beside him. They were Xiao Luoyu and the other 2. Found it. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up. It should be enough to take away one of their souls and one of their souls. Thinking of this, Lin Xian quickly flew to the front, wanting to awaken Xiao Luoyu's soul. However, at this moment, the blood-colored pillar was enraged and it kept shaking. The blood-colored nomological laws on it condensed into chains and once again swept towards Lin Xian. Dozens of blood-colored chains enveloped Lin Xian's soul. Lin Xian felt a great threat. He roared angrily and struck out a dragon-shaped sword qi, shattering the chains. With a clang, the dozens of chains around him were all shattered. Then, Lin Xian attacked again and attacked Azura Yu's stone pillar, shattering the blood-colored stone pillar that Azura Yu was on. With a rumbling sound, the stone pillar shook and thousands of souls flew out from it. Their eyes shone brightly as they roared crazily. "Wake up!" Lin Xian's soul roared and enveloped Xiao Luoyu and the other two. After a while, the three souls regained their consciousness. The next moment, they sucked in a breath of cold air. "Where are we? We're being attacked." They remembered what happened before and saw Lin Xian's soul. "It's you." The three of them were shocked. "Are you trapped here too?" Their eyes were filled with despair. In their opinion, Lin Xian could only be suppressed here. However, Lin Xian said, "I'm here to save you. Come with me." With that, he waved his hand and retreated. Xiao Luoyu and the other two were stunned, but they quickly recovered and quickly followed. At this moment, a mournful roar sounded between heaven and earth. Then, the endless chains rushed over at high speed. Those souls wanted to resist, but they couldn't resist at all and were instantly suppressed. The shattered stone pillar condensed again, and the escaping souls were once again swallowed, turning into ferocious faces. The chains that filled the sky rushed towards Xiao Luoyu and the other two. Xiao Luoyu and the other two were filled with despair. Were they going to be suppressed again? They couldn't accept it. 36 chains enveloped them, wanting to take them away completely. At this moment, Lin Xian attacked again. The great dragon sword Qi flew out and slashed in all directions, shattering all 36 chains. "Let's go." Lin Xian waved his hand again. Xiao Luoyu and the other two were stunned. Those terrifying chains of law were directly shattered? Heavens, how did he do it? These people looked at Lin Xian with their mouths agape. It seemed that Lin Xian wasn't captured at all. He was here to save them. Thinking of this, hope returned to their eyes. "Let's go." Xiao Luoyu and the other two quickly followed. The blood-red pagoda was completely enraged and wanted to suppress Lin Xian and the others. Especially Lin Xian. They attacked wildly. Lin Xian's scalp went numb. Although he had the great dragon sword spirit to protect his main soul, he couldn't fully activate it. He could only passively defend. Lin Xian looked at the three of them and said, "Your souls, don't resist." He struck out the dragon-shaped sword Qi and enveloped their souls, bringing them to his side. Then, he became one with his sword and flew quickly. In an instant, he tore open the void and arrived outside the blood-red pagoda. The pagoda was completely enraged. Two blood-red claws stretched out from the inside, covering the sky and covering the earth as they rushed over. These were skeletal claws. The red skeletal claws were abnormally strange. They easily pierced through the void. Lin Xian felt that his soul was about to split open. It was too terrifying. He used Shadowless Heaven's net and his speed was extremely fast. In an instant, he was near the heaven-devouring jar. His soul and body merged. In the next moment, Lin Xian opened his eyes. The two red skeletal claws had already arrived in front of him and mercilessly slapped down. Clang! The two skeletal claws slapped the heaven-devouring jar, making an earth-shattering sound. The heaven-devouring jar was sent flying, and Lin Xian's blood was boiling. In the next moment, he shouted coldly. The heaven-devouring jar created a terrifying devouring vortex that swept in all directions. The skeletal claws attacked in all directions, but they were instantly devoured. End of chapter. Chapter 50-26. The blood-colored skull shattered, emitting an earth-shattering sound. At the same time, the blood river in front of them surged crazily, and a low roar came from within. It seemed to be very angry. Lin Xian sneered and activated the heaven-devouring jar to the extreme. A boundless whirlpool swept forward, as if to envelop the entire blood river. The blood river gradually calmed down, and no longer attacked Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted and quickly left with the heaven-devouring jar. He came to a safe place, and with a wave of his hand, merged the 3 souls into Xiao Luoyu and the other 2. After a while, Xiao Luoyu and the other 2 opened their eyes. They were confused. Where was this place? Soon, they came back to their senses and sat up one by one. Weren't we under attack? Who saved us? When they saw Lin Xian, their faces were filled with joy. It was you saved us. They naturally recognized Lin Xian, especially Xiao Luoyu, who had looked for Lin Xian before. He wanted Lin Xian to help him. However, the other party had mysteriously disappeared without a trace. Lin Xian asked, "Are you all right?" Xiao Luoyu and the other 2 shook their heads. There was no need for words to thank him. "If you need help in the future, just let me know." Lin Xian said, "You're too polite. Actually, it was your sister who asked me to look for you." With that, Lin Xian waved his hand and took out a token. When he saw the token, Xiao Luoyu was stunned. It was indeed his sister's token. He now trusted Lin Xian completely. Lin Xian asked, "What did you encounter before?" He was also very curious. Xiao Luoyu and the other 2 said. When they came to the blood river, they were about to cross it. At this time, an invisible force enveloped them, and then they were suppressed in the blood-colored pagoda. Lin Xian said, "This place is very strange. I'll take you away." "All right." Xiao Luoyu's face was a little pale, but he did not refuse. After the previous experience, he knew that he could not come to this place for the time being. This time, if not for Lin Xian, he would have been dead for sure. Therefore, he didn't want to stay here any longer. The group returned. However, the process was not so smooth because this place was really too strange. When they returned, they encountered the red storm again. Lin Xian had seen the danger of the red storm before. Xiao Luoyu and the other 2's expressions changed drastically. Previously, they had not come in as a group. Instead, dozens of people came in. Other than the 3 of them, everyone else was enveloped by the bloody storm. And then it was torn to shreds. Therefore, when they saw this red storm, Xiao Luoyu and the other 2 were terrified and kept retreating. Lin Xian's face was also cold. Golden light flickered in his eyes, and he saw some figures inside. He knew that with their current strength, it would be very difficult for them to pass through. Even if they could, they would have to pay a price. The Hellfire Dragon also said, "Kid, change your path." Lin Xian nodded and led Azura Yu and the others in another direction. That path was peaceful, but after walking for half a day, Lin Xian and the others stopped again. There was a figure in front of them, standing there with a saber on his back. He had 6 purple eyes on his body, and they were extremely strange, causing people's scalps to go numb. Everyone felt as if their souls were being torn apart, and even Lin Xian's pupils shrank. What a terrifying soul power! This person was definitely extremely powerful. Those 6 eyes looked towards Lin Xian and the others. Xiao Luoyu and the other 2's souls were about to shatter. Lin Xian's eyes flickered with a terrifying light, but he could only protect himself. Was he going to risk his life? Lin Xian grabbed the heaven-swallowing jar and prepared to attack. However, at this moment, a cold laugh sounded, causing people's hair to stand on end. The man with 6 eyes in front of them also flashed and quickly dodged. He escaped. Xiao Luoyu and the others were shocked, to be able to escape from such a powerful soul, how terrifying was the other party. Even Lin Xian's hair stood on end. In the next moment, they saw an old man walk over. This old man had red hair, and his face was withered, like a zombie. However, Xiao Luoyu was instantly stunned, and his eyes turned red. "Ancestor!" he shouted. Although he did not know this person, that red hair was the symbol of the Azura clan. This old man was from the Azura clan. Xiao Luoyu and the others knelt on one knee, and their expressions were extremely respectful. The eyes of the old man in front of them flashed. He whispered to himself, "Become a god. Become an immortal. Become dust." Then, he laughed strangely, turned around, and flew away. "Ancestor!" Xiao Luoyu and the others exclaimed. It seemed that their ancestor's condition was very strange. Lin Xian's brows were tightly knitted together. What did the old man mean by that? It seemed that the old man was in despair, but the ancestor's strength was already very high, and even he was in despair. What was going on? He did not know the answer now, because the old man had already left. Lin Xian and the others continued on their way, and along the way, they met a few more figures. They were all extremely old figures, and their origins and strength were shocking. However, at this moment, they were all in Death Valley, and what were they looking for? In the end, an extremely terrifying power was emitted from within. Those ancient figures all rushed over. Lin Xian and the others were shocked, and they also followed, wanting to see what was going on. They saw a large hall in front of them, and there was a black sun above the hall, burning continuously. It carried an extremely terrifying demonic aura. And an extremely terrifying light burst out from the eyes of those ancient figures. "Attack!" With a low shout, these people all attacked in front of them. Their target was that black sun. A great battle broke out in an instant, and it was very terrifying. Lin Xian and the others quickly retreated in fear, because a battle of this level was not something they could fight against. They could only watch from afar. The black sun kept spinning, and there were black flames burning and sweeping in all directions. It was really unbelievable that he could block the attacks of so many ancient figures alone. The black sun suddenly rushed down, directly blasting these ancient figures away. Those ancient figures spat out blood, their bodies were broken, and some were burning. For a moment, no one could stand. Was it that terrifying? Xiao Luoyu and the others were shocked. At this moment, a cold laugh came from the black sun. "Become a god. Become an immortal. Why not become a demon?" A terrifying voice echoed in the 9 heavens, and then it charged towards Lin Xian and the others. Xiao Luoyu and the others went crazy. Lin Xian's pupils dilated, and he instantly threw out the heaven-devouring jar. However, the black sun was even faster, and it instantly enveloped him. Chapter 50-27. Lin Xian was also facing a great enemy. He felt a huge sense of danger. The other party was too fast, so fast that he couldn't react at all. Would his divine body be able to withstand such terrifying flames at the moment? He didn't know. He was even prepared to use the great dragon sword spirit and the power of the sword world. He wanted to split the black sun apart at all costs. But in the next moment, he was stunned. He didn't make a move. Because he realized that the black flames didn't burn him at all. And this time, he came to a strange space, surrounded by demonic aura. There was a black palace in front of him. The ancient great desolate Aeon was extremely extraordinary. In front of the palace, there was a figure that looked like a demon god. He was staring at Lin Xian. Lin Xian felt a chill down his spine. There was actually a space inside the black sun, and there was such a terrifying figure. Was he the one who defeated those ancient existences? You're here, the demon god-like figure said in a deep voice. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. What did that mean? The other party knew him. This was too unbelievable. How could the other party know him? He said. Senior, please forgive me. I didn't mean to disturb Senior, I'll leave now. Young man, I've been waiting for you for a long time. You're finally here. The demon god-like figure spoke again. Lin Xian's face became extremely ugly. Was the other party really waiting for him? But this was too unbelievable. You know me. Who are you? Lin Xian asked coldly. I'm the Demon Emperor. The demon god-like figure in front of him said in a deep voice. Hearing this title, Lin Xian was even more shocked. Demon Emperor, could this be a great emperor? He couldn't believe it. He wanted to ask the Hellfire Dragon, but he realized that his soul and body were suppressed here. The other party's gaze made him unable to move at all. He couldn't even use his weapon. The sword world couldn't ask either. Damn it, too strong. Was he really a great emperor? Lin Xian guessed that other than the great emperor, no one else could make him feel such despair with just a gaze. I've deduced the secrets of heaven and found out that there's a guest from the sky today, so I'm waiting here. Was the visitor from outer space referring to him? Lin Xian truly did not belong to the present. Instead, it came from 100,000 years later. If the other party could even deduce such a thing, Lin Xian now believed that the other party might really be a great emperor. However, why was the other party waiting for him? He voiced out his doubts. The demon emperor smiled. I have the Imperial Sutra. Are you willing to learn? Lin Xian was stupefied. The other party wanted to impart an imperial scripture to him. Why? The devil emperor didn't reply. Instead, he asked again, are you willing to learn? Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. In the current situation, the other party could kill him with a single glance. However, he didn't do so. This meant that he shouldn't be in any danger. In other words, the other party really wanted to impart the imperial scripture to him. Since that was the case, why not learn it? Lin Xian nodded and said, Junior is willing. Very good. The demon emperor laughed heartily. My imperial scripture is called the Illusion Demon Scripture, and I will impart it to you now. An extremely terrifying black light appeared in his eyes and surged into Lin Xian's eyes. Lin Xian felt his soul tremble. His heavenly secret divine eyes were about to resist. However, the other party's voice sounded. Don't resist. You can't resist it, and I won't harm you. Lin Xian controlled the power of the heavenly secret divine child and didn't resist. He felt that his soul was about to split open. There was indeed an extremely terrifying information that surged into his mind. Lin Xian felt that he was about to turn into a demon at this moment. After an unknown period of time, Lin Xian came back to his senses. His face was a little pale, but he was incomparably excited. There was an additional piece of information in his mind. It was the demon transformation scripture. Was it really an imperial scripture? He had learned 2 types of great emperor's ultimate techniques. He knew that this kind of ultimate technique surpassed everything. It was really too terrifying. If he had the complete great emperor's ancient scripture, then he would no longer be afraid of the emperor. Thank you, senior. Lin Xian cupped his fists and looked forward, extremely grateful. All right, young man, it's time for you to leave. You and I are not fated yet. There will be a time when we meet again. The demon emperor waved his hand, and a force sent Lin Xian out. In the next moment, Lin Xian felt the world spin. When he reappeared, he was already in the main hall outside. The ancient figures outside had already left. Only Xiao Luoyu and the other two were still waiting. Their faces were pale. Could it be that young Master Lin had already died? They couldn't imagine that their benefactor who had saved them had died like this. As for them, it was very likely that they would also die here. But in the next moment, they saw the black sun appear again. Then, a figure flew out. Who was it? They were on guard. However, when they were talking about Lin Xian, they were all happy. Young Master Lin, you're fine. That's great. Xiao Luoyu and the other two walked for a while, their faces full of excitement. Young Master Lin, what did you experience? What kind of magic was this black sun? Lin Xian shook his head and said, I don't know. I fainted. Lin Xian wouldn't tell them about something as important as the Imperial Sutra. He said, let's go. Xiao Luoyu and the other two nodded. At this moment, the black sun in the sky shot out a ball of black flames, which swept into the distance. Everywhere it passed, the terrifying aura disappeared. The ancient figures, the red storm, and the strange laughter were all gone. Lin Xian took a deep breath. He knew that this was the Demon Emperor opening a path for him. He said, let's go quickly. There's only one chance. The few of them turned into streaks of light and flew quickly. Along the way, they didn't encounter any obstacles or dangers. Finally, they left the Valley of Death. After they came out, Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Xiao Luoyu and the other two felt as if a lifetime had passed. If it wasn't for Lin Xian, they probably wouldn't have been able to come out in this lifetime. Young Master Lin, please come back to the Azura clan with me. I will definitely thank you. Lin Xian nodded. I can also explain to your sister. The group returned to the Azura clan. When they came back, the Azura princess was beaming with joy. Brother, you're back. This is great. She revealed a beautiful smile. Xiao Luoyu said, it's all thanks to young Master Lin's help. Young Master Lin. The Azura princess looked at Lin Xian and nodded slightly. Thank you. Lin Xian said, you can return the token to the princess. The princess took the token, then took out 3 treasure boxes and gave them to Lin Xian. She said, thank you for bringing my brother out of the Valley of Death. Young master, please accept these gifts. Lin Xian was puzzled. He took them and opened them. Suddenly, a voice sounded in his mind. Damn, it's this thing. Lin Xian frowned slightly. This was the Hellfire Dragon's voice. He asked telepathically. You're too excited. I'm going dizzy. Kid, do you know what this is? This is the Hourglass of Time. It can let you travel through time. This is a heaven-defying thing. Lin Xian gasped after hearing this. The Hourglass of Time. Does it have the power of time? Doesn't that mean he has the chance to go back to the past or even the future? Chapter 50-28. Lin Xian was delighted to know the use of the hourglass. He carefully put it away. Then he said, thank you, princess. Mr. Lin, I want to thank you properly. I want to set up a grand banquet. Xiao Luoyu also smiled and invited Lin Xian in. Lin Xian didn't refuse. He stayed for a few days and then left. Mr. Lin, if you have time, you must come and find me. Xiao Luoyu waved. Lin Xian nodded but sighed in his heart. Because he already knew the fate of these people. In a few more years, these people would probably suffer a devastating blow. And he couldn't do anything because it couldn't be changed. With a sigh, Lin Xian turned and left. When his figure disappeared, the torrent of time appeared under his feet. The next moment, he left again and returned to reality. In a flash, Lin Xian appeared in the ruins and the Hellfire Dragon sword flew over. He said, "Damn, kid, you're finally back. Where did you go? I thought you died." A series of questions stunned Lin Xian. Did he really come back? Did he really experience what happened 100,000 years ago, or was it just a dream? He quickly checked. He found that the 3 hourglasses were still there. At the same time, there was a black ancient scripture in his mind. Demon summoning scripture. All of this meant that he really went back 100,000 years ago and it wasn't a dream. It wasn't an illusion either. Coming back to his senses, Lin Xian looked at the Hellfire Dragon sword and put it away. Then he said, "We'll talk about this later." Lin Xian had already fulfilled Princess Shura's wish. Then he should be able to walk out of the ruins. Closing his eyes, Lin Xian followed his senses and walked forward. This time, the fog in front of him disappeared. Lin Xian walked for a day and finally walked out. When he opened his eyes, he found that he was already outside the ruins. Did he come out? Lin Xian was delighted. The Hellfire Dragon sword flew out again with a face full of shock. "What the f***ck, kid, you really came out." Lin Xian scanned his surroundings, but there was no one around. He frowned. He wondered if Monkey King had come out. One had to know that he had gone in together with Sun Qitian. Now that he had come out, it could only mean one thing. Is he still inside? He had searched for them before, but he couldn't find any trace of them. Because it contained the power of time. He and Sun Qitian might have entered different streams of time. That was probably why they couldn't find him. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian decided to use the hourglass of time to find Sun Qitian. At this moment, the Hellfire Dragon advised. "Kid, don't waste such a precious thing. That monkey had an extraordinary background. It was very likely that he was a descendant of the great emperor. Therefore, he definitely had the ability to come out." Lin Xian was stunned. The Hellfire Dragon knew about the hourglass of time. He wanted to ask the Hellfire Dragon. At this moment, the Fire Dragon sword spoke again. There was no need to ask. This sword was a part of my body. The sword was me, and I was the sword. If you have any questions, just ask the Fire Dragon sword. Lin Xian squinted his eyes. There was indeed something wrong with the Hellfire Dragon. It didn't say these things before, and only said it now. It seemed like it believed him a little. Well, he would let the Hellfire Dragon stay inside. With the sword outside, it would be easier for him to control it. Therefore, he asked again. "Let me ask you, have you heard of the Demon Emperor?" Since the Hellfire Dragon said that Sun Qitian wasn't in danger, Lin Xian was relieved. He also believed that with Sun Qitian's strength, it was only a matter of time before he came out. Therefore, he quickly asked the other question in his heart. The Hellfire Dragon sword was shocked after hearing it. Demon Emperor. Indeed, it had heard of him. An expert from the demon world. He had also become a great emperor. He was invincible, but he had fallen long ago. Was he really a great emperor? Lin Xian was shocked. A great emperor from 100,000 years ago couldn't have survived until now. Even with the elixir of immortality, it wouldn't have worked. That meant that the illusion demon scripture in his mind. It was the great emperor's ancient scripture. He was overjoyed. Next, he could finally cultivate the real emperor's scripture. Thinking of this, his figure flashed and he walked into the distance. At this time, a killing sword swept towards him. Lin Xian snorted and punched the killing sword away. His face was gloomy. "Get out." 4 figures walked out from the surroundings and said, "That's right. Brat, when did you appear? We have been guarding this place for a long time. No one can enter, only people can leave. That means you didn't even come in. You walked out from the ruins in front. That was the Shura ruins, a land of death. No one could come out alive after entering. But you came out. How did you do it?" They were so shocked that their eyes turned red. The Shura clan was a powerful ancient clan in the legends. It was destroyed later on. But there were definitely endless secrets left behind in the ruins. It was just that no one who went in could come out, so these secret treasures couldn't be brought out. But now, someone had actually managed to walk out of it. Then, what did he get? The Shura clan's treasures, techniques, or inheritance. These were all supreme treasures, and they all wanted to obtain them. Lin Xian sneered. "Are you threatening me? I'll give you a chance. Get lost, or I'll send you to hell. You're courting death." The man shouted angrily. His ice-killing sword bloomed with billions of rays of light and charged over again. In an instant, it enveloped Lin Xian and cut Lin Xian in half. "You're just an ant. You must have a special way to come out. However, in terms of true strength, even 10,000 of you combined are no match for me." The middle-aged man snorted with a disdainful expression. In the next moment, he was stunned. That was because the figure he had hacked apart had turned into green smoke and disappeared. That meant that the other party was just an illusion. Where was the other party's real body? He wanted to turn around. In the next moment, a beam of sword light sent his head flying. Lin Xian had used Shadowless Heaven's net to dodge that sword. Now that he attacked, he instantly killed a powerhouse. "Ants? I think you're the ants." Lin Xian sneered. The middle-aged man didn't die. His head flew over and roared crazily. "Damn it! Kill him!" With a roar, his body quickly reassembled. The other 3 people also charged over. The bodies of these 4 people turned into soul-like existences, covering all directions. A terrifying aura swept over, making even sages want to crawl. It was too terrifying. Lin Xian also frowned. What kind of secret technique is this? At this moment, the Hellfire Dragon sword said that they were from the Undead clan. The terrifying primordial clan. Lin Xian snorted. "So what if you're from the Undead clan?" He held the Hellfire Dragon sword and used Shura sword technique. A sword flew out. In an instant, 4 heads flew up again. Ultimate kill. Chapter 50-29. Their eyes were filled with despair. Had they been killed by a single sword strike? But the other party was too strong. They recognized that the other party had used the Great Emperor's mystique, the Azura sword technique. This person was a top-notch assassin. They had been careless. But they were not satisfied. "Kid, if you kill us, you will definitely die. Even if you cultivate the Azura sword technique, you are no match for the undead tribe." Death's Soul Melody. The 4 powerhouses of the Undead Spirit Clan activated their forbidden technique at the last moment. A hellish sound rang between heaven and earth. It was extremely strange and enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted and slashed with his sword. But these sounds were invisible and could not be destroyed. Just as he was about to use the power of the Great Dragon Sword Soul to destroy them, he realized that the sounds had strangely disappeared. Playing tricks. Lin Xian snorted. Hellfire Dragon Sword. Speaking of which, kid, you have been targeted by them. Once the Death Soul Melody is used, it is a kill order. The undead tribe will find you according to the Death Soul Melody. Even if you escape to the ends of the earth, they can still kill you. Something like this had happened before. Someone had provoked the undead tribe and was used the death soul melody. This person had left this starry sky and went to other worlds. In the end, he was still found by the undead tribe. In the end, his soul was destroyed and his ending was very tragic. I advise you to be careful. No matter how strong you are, you can't fight against an ancient tribe member. Moreover, the undead tribe is a very terrifying existence in the underworld. After hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. He was surprised that there was such a method. Around the period it took an incense stick to burn, a figure appeared in the distance. This figure was without a trace and suddenly appeared behind Lin Xian. At the same time, a gray flag enveloped him. "And, you dare to kill the undead tribe? I will make you suffer a fate worse than death." The gray flag released an extremely terrifying aura of death that could take away one's life. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Were the dead spirit clan still lingering around? Then don't blame me. He struck out with his palm, turning into a fearless lion that tore through the 9 heavens. The gray flag was torn apart and shattered on the spot. Then, Lin Xian swung his sword, the Hellfire Dragon sword turning into an afterimage, piercing towards his opponent. Clang! An earth-shattering sound rang out as the surrounding void started to shatter continuously. It was as though the world was about to be destroyed. The two figures retreated. Lin Xian's arm felt a little numb, and he frowned. On the other side, the expert from the undead spirit clan had an extremely ugly expression on his face. They had just exchanged blows, and one of his treasures had already been shattered. If he hadn't taken out his trump card, he would have been dead for sure. It was a large red cauldron that had blocked the attack just now. However, at this moment, there was actually a sword mark on it, causing his heart to bleed. "Damn it, I want you dead!" he roared crazily. He waved the cauldron and charged over. Countless vengeful spirits flew out of the cauldron, blotting out the sky and enveloping Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly as he continued to use his ultimate techniques. At the same time, he activated the 9 yang divine body to the extreme. Flames of extreme yang flew out, sweeping away the vengeful spirits. The vengeful spirits were enveloped by the flames and quickly retreated, unable to get close at all. Lin Xian sneered. "The undead spirit clan is only so-so. You want to kill me? You're still far from it. Damn it." The undead spirit clan's expression turned ugly. The expert roared angrily. He took out a rune and a small figure, pasted it on it, and said, "Curse of the undead." As he spoke, he slashed the rune man with his sword. Cracks appeared on the rune man's body, and at the same time, a crack appeared on Lin Xian's body. With a crack, his body shattered, and sacred blood flowed out from it. "Damn it, what's going on?" Lin Xian was shocked. The opponent didn't attack him just now, right? The attack was too sudden. He couldn't react in time. The Hellfire Dragon sword said, "Kid, this is the most terrifying part of the undead spirit clan. Curse, when he attacked the rune man, he was attacking you." Damn it, there was such a thing. Lin Xian was dumbfounded. The opponent didn't even need to attack him to injure him. His method was too strange. However, he was furious. His face darkened as he shouted coldly. He used Shadowless Heaven's net, and his speed was extremely fast. With a slash of the sword, it could destroy heaven and earth. The undead spirit clan elder sneered and quickly retreated. He didn't fight Lin Xian head-on. At the same time, he slapped the rune. One of the rune man's arms was shattered. Lin Xian felt that the bones in his sword-wielding hands were shattered. An invisible force enveloped him. This slash was broken. Ha ha ha. Seeing that Lin Xian was injured again, the undead spirit clan elder laughed. Kid, now you know how powerful the undead spirit clan is. You want to fight against us? Stupid. Damn it. Lin Xian's face was cold. The Hellfire Dragon said to leave quickly. Lin Xian frowned. He didn't even need to attack me to injure me. If I leave, I'll definitely die. The Hellfire Dragon said that although the undead spirit clan's curse was powerful, it couldn't be used endlessly. Otherwise, the entire universe would be theirs. Once this thing was used, it would be punished by the heavenly lightning. The more curses one used, the more heavenly lightning punishment one would receive. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, they wouldn't use it easily. Lin Xian took a deep breath. He understood. It was a taboo. No wonder. If there weren't any restrictions, the entire underworld would have been the undead spirit clans. The Hellfire Dragon said again. Also, this kind of attack could only be used on those weaker or on the same level. It was possible to surpass levels, but it couldn't surpass too much power. If a saint wanted to curse a great emperor, he would probably be killed by the great emperor's power. So it was like this. Lin Xian completely understood. In front of absolute power, any method was useless. Power. He wanted great power. Kid, it's useless. This sword knows a lot. But so what? To kill you, although I'll take the risk, it's worth it. Also, do you think you can escape? As he spoke, he slapped the rune man in his hand again. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. With a cold shout, the great dragon sword spirit flew out and surrounded him. It formed a terrifying sword Dao domain. Boom boom. Dang! The rune man was torn into pieces. The undead spirit elder sneered. Kid, let's see how you'll die this time. His previous 2 attacks were effective. This time, his opponent would definitely be torn into pieces. He wanted to injure him heavily, then bring him back to his family and torture him to death. He would let the other party know the fate of those who dared to offend them. A terrifying power covered the front. The elder sneered as he watched. But in the next moment, his pupils shrank and he exclaimed. How could it be? Chapter 50-30. In his opinion, Lin Xian would definitely be torn apart, but he didn't see such a scene. Lin Xian was unscathed, standing there with a sneer on his face. No, damn it, how was this possible? The old man of the undead clan was stunned. Had his forbidden martial arts lost its effect? This was impossible. He could clearly feel that there was an additional trace of the aura of the lightning tribulation in his body. In other words, he would be punished by the heavenly lightning. This meant that his martial arts were effective. But why wasn't the body of the person in front of him broken? Could it be related to those sword chi? He stared ahead. There were many dragon-shaped sword chi around Lin Xian, like giant dragons, roaring towards the sky and cutting through heaven and earth. That's right, these were the dragon-shaped sword chi of the Great Dragon Sword Soul. The Great Dragon Sword Soul's attack was unparalleled and could cut through everything. Although the other party's curse was incomparably strange, Lin Xian could cut through it and was in an invincible position. Damn it! This kid was too strange. The old man of the undead clan roared towards the sky. In the distance, 3 more figures flew over. The 4 great experts froze heaven and earth. Their cold eyes stared at Lin Xian. In addition, the other 3 were also holding strange weapons. With the undead clan flag, they seemed to be able to take away a person's soul. The 4 great experts besieged Lin Xian together. Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. He didn't attack again. Because the attacks of these 4 people were very strange, and he had more important things to do. He had obtained the illusion fiend scripture. He naturally wanted to cultivate the inheritance of the great emperor as soon as possible. Thinking of this, Lin Xian's figure flashed and flew into the distance. "Kid, do you want to leave?" The experts of the undead clan attacked frantically. However, Lin Xian waved his hand, and a sharp sword chi sent one of them flying. That person was instantly split in half. The other's scalps went numb. So terrifying. Chase. Kill him. This kid must have a treasure on him. The 4 great experts attacked again. However, at this moment, the undead spirit elder who took the lead screamed. Thunder was accumulating in his body, and a bolt of lightning struck down from the sky, charring him black. Damn it, he didn't dare to give chase anymore. He used all his strength to resist the heavenly lightning. The other 3 people also stopped when they saw this scene. Damn it, could it be that this brat wanted him to escape? Don't worry, he won't be able to escape. He's under the influence of the necromancer's melody. We can track him down. Help me get through the heavenly lightning first. The undead spirit old man who had attacked earlier gritted his teeth and said. He felt that his life was in danger. The other 3 also helped out. There were so many of them, but they couldn't do anything to a young man. Who was this young man? He was too scary. At this time, Lin Xian struck out the first sword of the Azura sword technique. In an instant, 5 figures were split open. Damn it! Those people fought back crazily. Lin Xian's figure swayed, and Shadowless Heaven's net dodged instantly. Then, he struck out again. The second sword of the Azura sword technique. This time, more than a dozen figures were split open instantly. Damn it, what a terrifying killing move. This was the Azura sword technique. He was a top-notch killer. The surrounding people went crazy. At this moment, the 4 people who had attacked Lin Xian had also returned. It was especially so for the Rune Elder. When he saw Lin Xian killing everyone around him, he was dumbfounded. Damn it, what's going on? This kid actually killed his way into their palace. He even killed dozens of great sage. Damn it. Their eyes instantly turned red. Quickly activate the taboo martial arts. The old man roared, and someone took out a rune doll in an instant. They kept attacking Lin Xian. Lin Xian roared angrily and took out the great dragon sword soul. He operated the power of the sword world and swept it in all directions. With one strike, the rune dolls in the hands of those people were all shattered. Many people suffered from the backlash, vomited blood, and were sent flying. Their faces were filled with madness. What kind of scene was this? A young man had swept away a group of experts. It was too unbelievable. Not good. He has a treasure in his hands, and it's not something we can contend against. Go and invite the Dead Souls Abyss over. The Dead Souls Abyss was the #1 genius of the Undead Spirit clan. At the same time, he was also the extremely terrifying Great Sage. His strength was unparalleled. As long as he appeared, he could definitely suppress this kid in front of him. Lin Xian snorted coldly and strode over. He looked into the distance. There was a large flag there, and there was an extremely terrifying soul aura on it. This should be an extremely terrifying soul treasure. Not only that, there was a trace of reincarnation power on it. It was a reincarnation rune. Chapter 50-31. Stop right there. Seeing Lin Xian walking toward the talisman flag, the surrounding undead spirits roared crazily. Lin Xian ignored them. The surrounding undead spirits gritted their teeth in anger, but no one dared to act rashly. The method that the other party used was too terrifying. Young man, you're too arrogant. Do you really think you can behave atrociously here? A cold voice rang out. This is the palace of our undead spirit clan. Our foundation is not something you can imagine. A woman in a black robe walked out. Her face was cold, and her eyes were filled with killing intent. Protector. The undead spirits exclaimed, and then their faces were filled with joy. Great, their protector has come out. This kid is dead for sure. Lin Xian smiled. Kneel down and submit, or I'll destroy your soul. He pointed his sword forward with infinite domineering aura. You'll regret it, you'll regret it. The black-robed woman snorted. She waved her hand and took out a small flag. She shook it gently, and suddenly, the surrounding sky and earth cracked. Gray fog filled the air and spread out in all directions. Soon, it enveloped the entire palace. Undead spirits' blood-killing array. Many elders exclaimed, and soon, they sneered. This array was not ordinary. It could be said to be a peerless array. Once it was used, it would consume a lot of energy. It could be said that unless it was a matter of life and death, it would not be used easily. Now that it was used, this kid would not be able to resist it no matter how strong he was. A peerless killing array. Lin Xian's face was cold. Is this your trump card? His eyes were filled with disdain. Yes, it was a peerless killing array. Once you enter, no one can escape. You'll definitely die. Outside the palace, the other people of the underworld trembled in fear when they saw this scene. Heavens, the palace of the undead spirits actually activated such a peerless array. What happened? Was there a sneak attack by a strong enemy? It shouldn't be. They didn't notice a large group of experts coming. Exclamations sounded one after another. However, they knew that no matter who the enemy was, no one would be able to escape once the array was activated. The old man from before walked out and sneered. Kid, you're no match for us. Now, kneel down obediently and hand over all your secrets and treasures. We can give you a chance to live. They would never forget that Lin Xian had walked out of the Azura ruins. There must be a secret in the body, and they had to get it. Lin Xian snorted coldly. How could a mere array formation give you such confidence? What a joke. I've already said that this array formation can't do anything to me. The black-robed woman was thoroughly enraged. Since the other party was courting death, she would not hold back. Forming hand seals, the surrounding dead spirit blood-killing formation started to churn rapidly, and 36 dead spirit phantoms appeared. Every single one of them held a sword of slaughter in their hands. It was terrifying to say the least, and there was a sea of blood around them. This scene could really destroy a world. Young man, cherish your life. If you die, you will have nothing left. Only by being alive would there be hope. So, just tell the secret obediently. Cold laughter rang out. Lin Xian waved his Hellfire Dragon sword and pointed it forward. Words were useless. Fight! He slashed out with his sword. The fire dragon danced in the air, and the sword chi slashed forward. It was useless. The black-robed woman had completely activated the array formation. 36 dead spirit phantoms stood tall. They held a sword of slaughter in their hands and swept across the 9 heavens. In an instant, the void around Lin Xian shattered continuously. It's over. The dead spirit clan sneered. Lin Xian took a deep breath. The great dragon sword's soul gushed out, as if it had merged with the Hellfire Dragon sword. The Hellfire Dragon sword burst out with extremely terrifying hellfire. Lin Xian took a deep breath and slashed out. Azura Sword Technique, Second Sword. The great dragon sword's soul and the power of the sword world made this sword extremely powerful. It was like a divine dragon attacking, slashing forward. The surrounding sea of blood shattered continuously. The 36 dead spirit phantoms were also violently attacked. Their figures became dim, as if they were about to shatter. No! When the surrounding elders of the undead spirit clan saw this scene, they were all horrified. What did they see? Could it be that their peerless array formation was about to shatter? Because of the other party's sword. Damn it, what kind of sword technique was this? It was too strong. What kind of trump card did this young man have? They couldn't believe it. The black-robed woman's face also turned pale. Her eyes were filled with deep shock. To be honest, she didn't put Lin Xian in her eyes at all. In her opinion, this was an ant that was not to be feared at all. But now she realized that she was wrong. The other party was like a sword god descending to the mortal world. The power of this sword was not something their array could withstand at all. Even the entire palace was about to be split in half. How could she know that Lin Xian didn't hold back in this attack? The Azura sword technique was a great emperor's ability. The great dragon sword soul's attack was unparalleled. In addition to the power provided by the sword world, the power of this sword definitely surpassed everything. The 36 dead spirit phantoms retreated, and a huge crack appeared between heaven and earth. The entire array became dim and lightless, and countless cracks appeared all around it. The elders of the dead spirit clan all vomited blood and retreated. Under this attack, it seemed that only Lin Xian stood there unscathed. I've said it before, your array can't do anything to me. Lin Xian's cold voice sounded. It made the dead spirit clan despair. The black-robed woman's eyes were also filled with despair. However, she soon stared at the other party. To be precise, it was the sword shadow in the other party's hand. The flames flickered and the dragon's shadow circled around. Kid, the sword in your hand should be a super powerful weapon, right? No wonder you can withstand my peerless array. But so what? Our array uses the power of heaven and earth, it's our foundation. Once it's activated, we consume very little power. But what about you? You should have used all of your strength when you struck out with that sword, right? Do you still have the strength to strike a second time? It had to be said that this black-robed woman was indeed a top-notch expert. In an instant, he found the key to the problem. In his opinion, Lin Xian was nothing to be afraid of. Lin Xian had a peerless weapon in his hand, which was why he was able to contend with their array. And a peerless weapon required too much power. With the other party's strength, it would be very difficult for him to strike again. Thinking of this, she sneered. Although the process was somewhat tortuous, the result was destined. The other party would undoubtedly die. The black-robed woman's face was filled with madness. She kept forming seals. In the surroundings, the broken array flickered again. The power of the spirit veins below was quickly absorbed. The 36 dead spirit phantoms, which were originally dim and broken, condensed again. The blood-colored swords in their hands became terrifying. They turned into seas of blood one after another, surging between heaven and earth. Chapter 50-32. Lin Xian was expressionless. The other party was indeed strong, a top-notch expert. He was able to discover the crux of the problem in an instant. However, the other party had underestimated him. His sword strike used the power of the sword world, and it did not consume much energy. Therefore, of course he was able to unleash a second strike. However, he did not want to use the power of the sword world anymore. This was not good for the development of the world itself, so he was prepared to take out another trump card. Heaven Swallowing Jar. It was said to be able to swallow even heaven and earth. At this moment, Lin Xian was prepared to use it. With a wave of his hand, a black jar appeared in his hand. The woman in black laughed out loud when she saw this scene. What, are you in despair? You want to use this broken jar to fight against me? In his opinion, that jar was pitch black and did not have any power at all. How could it be a peerless treasure? Go to hell. The undead roared. The 36 Reaper phantoms roared towards the sky, emitting a terrifying sound. It was as if they wanted to tear apart this world. The surrounding people felt their souls being violently impacted. This power was truly too terrifying. In an instant, Lin Xian was enveloped by the roar of the undead. The place where he was at had completely turned into a primal chaos void. It's finally settled. The woman in black snorted. She did not expect that she would have to use so many methods to deal with an ant. This time, they had used up too many resources. Next, their undead clan would have to go out and snatch other people's treasures in order to recover. Sigh, what a pity, the Azura's secret was unknown. The elders also shook their heads and sighed. However, to be able to kill such a potential enemy was considered extremely fortunate for them. Just when everyone thought that the matter was over, a vortex suddenly appeared in the shattered void. It spun rapidly, swallowing all the roars of the undead. Following that, endless black vortexes appeared in all directions. Several experts of the undead clan were instantly engulfed, letting out miserable cries. In the next moment, blood filled the air from the vortex. What was going on? Damn it, what was this? What exactly were these black vortexes? As soon as they arrived, cries of alarm could be heard. The people of the undead clan all went crazy and became terrified. Could it be that other than this brat, there was another expert here? The undead spirit elder from before roared crazily. He saw a black vortex coming towards him. He roared angrily, releasing a terrifying attack. Heaven overflowing natural laws swept out. But they were all swallowed up. His scalp went numb. He had never seen such a strange thing before. Protector. They all looked at the woman in black, seeking help. The black-clothed woman's face also darkened. What was going on? That brat was already dead. Who was it that was still trying to kill him? He shouted coldly. Who are you? Come out and meet me. I advise you to stop immediately. Otherwise, you'll offend my undead spirit clan. No matter where you go, you won't be able to escape death. You're really stupid. You can't even recognize me. In the void, a figure walked out of the vortex. Everyone raised their heads to look, and they were stunned. The woman in black exclaimed, "It's you." Impossible, aren't you already dead? He was truly stunned. This was the brat he had killed before. The other party didn't die. Could it be that these black vortexes were created by the other party? Damn it! Where did the other party get such a powerful trump card? Stupid things, I've said it before. You're no match for me at all. But you didn't listen. Since you're courting death, don't blame me. Lin Xian shouted coldly. He held the black jar in his hand and shook it gently. Suddenly, the vortex expanded crazily as if it was going to swallow the entire world. The sea of blood in the sky kept disappearing. The 36 phantoms of the Grim Reaper were also shattered. It was as if a sky-devouring beast was crazily biting them. No! Seeing the phantoms of the dead disappear, the woman in black finally panicked. She felt that the power of the array was also being swallowed. The array was shattered into pieces. The sky-devouring jar was half an extreme weapon. Although it was incomplete, Lin Xian could display earth-shattering power by using a little of its power. At this moment, Lin Xian was using the sky-devouring jar to devour everything. Outside the undead spirit palace, countless people were watching. When they saw the phantoms of the Grim Reaper and the sea of blood, they knew that everything was over. Those powerful enemies had all fallen, and they were ready to leave and no longer pay attention. However, all of a sudden, they stopped abruptly and turned their heads to look. Their faces were filled with shock. Damn it, what's going on? Where did the vortex come from? What's that black vortex? Could it be an array of the undead spirit clan? It shouldn't be. Wasn't it already over? Exclamations sounded one after another. In the next moment, they investigated and were horrified to find that the vortex was devouring the vortex. The array formed by the undead spirit clan was quickly being devoured. These people were terrified. Could it be that those enemies were not dead yet? Heavens, this is too terrifying. What kind of existence did the undead spirit clan provoke this time? In the palace, the elders of the undead spirit clan were in despair. Even the protector's body was trembling. He had lived for thousands of years and swept across the world, looking down on everything. He had never seen such a powerful enemy, not to mention that the other party was just a young man. How could the other party be so powerful? Could it be that the other party was the legendary emperor's son? No, there were too few emperors, and they wouldn't come here alone. The protector shook his head. He felt despair. At this moment, it was just a palace. Was there anyone in the undead spirit clan who could contend against the other party alone? He thought of the number one genius of the undead spirit clan. The dead spirit's abyss. Perhaps the dead spirit's abyss could kill the other party. This was their only hope. Other than that, unless they mobilized a more powerful force in this palace, they would have to be 10 times stronger to be able to kill the other party. Between heaven and earth, the black vortex was still devouring. In the end, all 36 phantoms were devoured. The entire protective array was shattered into pieces. The black-clothed woman vomited blood and fell to the ground. Her face turned pale. She was the protector of the palace. When the array was broken, she was seriously injured. At this moment, she was weak. She was not far from death. Protector. The surrounding undead spirit clan members roared crazily. They knelt on the ground. They could not imagine that the most powerful protector of the palace would be defeated. Who could contend against the other party? Could it be that their end was coming? The black-clothed woman stood up with difficulty and gritted her teeth. I lost this time. The grudge between us is written off. You can leave now. Lin Xian laughed after hearing this. Written off. If my trump card was a little weaker, I'm afraid I would have died here long ago. Chapter 50-33. What do you want? The woman in black roared crazily. She had already bowed her head and admitted defeat. Was he going to continue? What do I want? Lin Xian sneered. Have you been so high and mighty for so long that you've forgotten what it's like to beg for mercy? Lin Xian snorted coldly. His body emitted a terrifying law that swept in all directions. He looked ahead and sneered. Beg for mercy. You have to look like you're begging for mercy. Kneel down and kowtow 3 times and kowtow 9 times. You. The woman in black was so angry that she spat out a mouthful of blood. Kowtow 3 times and kowtow 9 times. What kind of joke is this? She shouted angrily. Kid, don't go too far. Although you've won, this is only the palace of the undead clan. It's not the headquarters. You may have won against me, but that doesn't mean you can win against the entire undead clan. You don't know how terrifying the undead clan is. Now that I'm letting you leave, I'm already doing you a huge favor. If you continue to be stubborn, you'll definitely die when the experts from the headquarters come. You're still threatening me. You really don't know what's good for you. Lin Xian snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, the Hellfire Dragon sword flew out and slashed the woman in half. The power of the Great Dragon Sword spirit exploded and destroyed the other party's soul. With a scream, the woman in black turned into a bloody mist and no longer existed. Lin Xian waved his hand and grabbed the other party's storage ring. The others were all crazy. No! Their eyes turned red. Their protector had actually fallen. Damn it, let's fight. The mighty ones of the Undead Spirit Clan looked at Lin Xian and roared in a frenzy. For a moment, many people charged over. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Azura sword technique, first sword. Second sword. The two swords struck out together. One by one, the space between the eyebrows of the figures was split open and their souls were destroyed. In the blink of an eye, the 100 experts had all fallen. The remaining people were facing a great enemy. The attacks of the few terrifying elders were all blocked by Lin Xian and dodged by Shadowless Heaven's net. Lin Xian seemed to have turned into the god of death at this moment, blending into heaven and earth. Damn it, how did this happen? The undead spirit elder and the others were terrified, furious, and roaring. The other party was too strong. Other than his super powerful trump card, his strength was top-notch. A top-notch movement technique and a top-notch killer move. Damn it, this was the ultimate technique of the Infernal Assassin organization. The other party was a terrifying killer saint. On top of that, he had mastered the two martial monarch arts to such a terrifying level. They couldn't believe it. Stop it, we give in. The undead elder who had attacked earlier roared. The others also stopped, lowered their heads, and said, "Let's go. We are no match for him. We admit defeat." Lin Xian looked around and sneered. I've said it before. Surrender, he had to look like he was surrendering. He had to kneel, kowtow, and admit defeat. Damn it. Undead Elder and the others gritted their teeth and knelt down. They lowered their heads and said, "We admit defeat." Lin Xian slashed his sword at the undead spirit elder, splitting him apart. His Tianji divine eyes shot out soul fire, burning the undead spirit elder. The undead spirit elder's heart and soul were destroyed. The others roared crazily. Damn it, we have already admitted defeat. What else do you want? Lin Xian slashed out with his sword again. Didn't I say that I won't kill you if you surrender? In an instant, two elders fell here. The surrounding people became terrified. This was a demon god, an existence they couldn't provoke. No one dared to resist anymore. They knelt on the ground and buried their heads deep in the ground. Lin Xian didn't kill these people. He formed a seal with his palms and a pair of God's eyes appeared in the 9 heavens, looking down. Wherever his gaze passed, the seal of life and death appeared. He wanted to turn all these people into puppets. They were under his control. Damn it, these people felt the seal of life and death imprinted in their souls. They let out an unwilling roar. A few powerful elders wanted to resist, but they were swallowed by Lin Xian with the heaven-swallowing jar. They turned into blood water. The others couldn't resist at all. However, they still roared crazily. You have offended the undead spirit clan. You are dead. Just you wait, the #1 genius of the undead spirit clan, Dead Spirit Abyss, will kill you easily. Roars sounded one after another, and finally, they all disappeared. These people knelt on the ground with respectful eyes, looking at Lin Xian and shouting, "Greetings, Lord." The corners of Lin Xian's mouth raised. Very good, now send a signal to your number one genius and then set up a killing array. When he comes back, immediately kill him. After giving the order, the undead spirit clan began to move. Lin Xian, on the other hand, flew forward. He looked at the talisman flag. There was a mysterious talisman on it that carried the power of reincarnation. However, it seemed to be the opposite. Against the 6 paths of reincarnation. The 6 paths of reincarnation could make people reincarnate. However, against the 6 paths of reincarnation, it could make people's souls drift between heaven and earth forever. They couldn't disappear at all. The undead spirit clan used this method to control countless undead spirits and used it as a means of attack. He could feel that there were countless souls in the flag. These were all vengeful spirits that were deeply locked by this talisman. Lin Xian said, I know you all have resentment. Don't worry, I'll let you enter reincarnation. I'll take this talisman away. However, you still have a chance to take revenge. I think it won't be long before the number one genius of the undead spirit clan arrives. At that time, whether you want to take revenge or not will be up to you. As he spoke, Lin Xian's eyes flickered, and the power of reincarnation appeared. It began to dissolve the talisman on the flag. In the end, the talisman disappeared and was taken away by Lin Xian. Countless souls rushed out from inside and roared at the sky. They looked at Lin Xian and kept worshipping him. Thank you, benefactor. We definitely won't let that dead soul's abyss go. These people returned to the flag and hid. Lin Xian left. Although he didn't know what the dead soul's abyss was, he had already become a mortal enemy of the undead spirit clan. Since that was the case, he wouldn't hold back. This time, he would give the undead spirit clan a big gift. The dead soul's abyss was currently in the 3rd level of hell. As the number one genius of the undead spirit clan, he was very powerful. He was even confident that in this life, he could become a true great emperor. From then on, he could sweep through all the worlds. In the 3rd level of hell, he found an ancient tomb and fought against 2 organizations and sects alone. In the end, he defeated hundreds of people. He roared at the sky and shattered the cave with a palm, obtaining a few treasure boxes from inside. The corners of his mouth curled up, and the dead soul's abyss snorted. A bunch of ants, you're no match for me. I'll definitely become a great emperor and rule the world. The people in the distance were terrified. This was too terrifying. This dead soul's abyss was definitely a top-notch genius in the entire underworld. He really had the talent of a young great emperor. Leave quickly, don't make an enemy of him. Terrified voices rang out one after another as these people fled one after another. Ants. Looking at the fleeing figures, the dead soul's abyss was disdainful. But all of a sudden, his brows furrowed. Chapter 50-34. Oh no, there was a problem with the palace. Who was it? Who dared to attack the undead clan? The abyss of dead souls did not look for other ancient tombs. Instead, he prepared to leave hell and head to the palace. No matter who it was, he would tear the other party to pieces if they dared to provoke the undead clan. With a sway of his body, he turned into a gray lightning bolt and disappeared in an instant. The demon was finally gone. When the abyss of dead souls left the 3rd level, the other trial takers heaved a sigh of relief. The other party's presence gave them too much pressure, so much so that they did not dare to make any moves. Fortunately, the other party had left. As for the reason, they could not be bothered to find out. The abyss of dead souls was very fast. When he arrived at the palace, his brows were tightly furrowed. He found that the palace was broken, and there were remnants of power around it. There was also a big crack in the sky. Obviously, there was a big battle here. Who was it? He roared and searched in all directions. In an instant, he caught a few figures. Those were two great sage. At this moment, under the abyss of dead souls' big hands, they could not resist at all. They shouted angrily, "We did not offend you. Let us go. We will kowtow to you." The two great sage were terrified. The abyss of dead souls snorted. Who dared to attack the palace of the undead clan? The two great sage shook their heads. We don't know. We only know that the undead clan activated a peerless array. There was an endless black vortex behind it. We did not dare to go over it all. Humph. The abyss of dead souls sneered. There was a gray light flickering in his eyes. He directly searched their souls. The two great sage screamed. They tried their best to resist, but how could they be a match for the abyss of dead souls? In an instant, their souls were shattered. The abyss of dead souls let go, his face cold. The two great sage were not lying. They really did not know who the enemy was. He snorted. No matter who it was, I will not let them go. His body swayed, and he strode forward. When he arrived at the palace, the abyss of dead souls shouted angrily. "Black-clothed guardian, come out and meet me." The abyss of dead souls' status was so high that even the guardian of the palace had to bow to him. However, at this moment, he shouted a few times, but he found that no one came to see him. What was going on? The dead souls' abyss was furious. He waved his hand, and a mysterious rune appeared. "Undead spirit race, quickly come and meet me." His loud and clear voice spread in all directions, causing everyone to feel terrified. Soon, one figure after another appeared in the shattered buildings and pavilions. They were from the undead clan. These people came before the dead souls' abyss, lowered their heads and spoke quickly. "Young master, please avenge us." The death spirit's abyss coldly snorted. Who was he? Who dares to attack my undead spirit clan? His eyes were filled with endless fury. However, at this moment, the eyes of the martialists who had lowered their heads gleamed coldly. The few elders who took the lead suddenly struck out, slapping the body of the dead soul's abyss viciously. Boom! Today, there was an earth-shaking sound. The dead soul's abyss was sent flying, and several palm prints appeared on his body. He spat out blood and roared, "Damn it, are you guys crazy? How dare you attack me?" He really couldn't understand why his clansmen would attack. Could it be that these people were in disguise? But from the looks of it, that was not the case. The eyes of those from the undead spirit race shone with an extremely sharp light. "On the orders of the master, we're going to kill you." Kill! With a roar, these sages rushed over. All kinds of laws and magical powers were unleashed in an overwhelming manner. At the same time, there were many array formations in the surroundings that flickered with light, and all of them charged towards the dead soul's abyss. The dead soul's abyss roared. Were they all controlled? Who was it? He was a top-notch expert, and he instantly understood what was going on. Looking at the eyes of these people, he knew that they had been controlled by someone else and had become puppets. Since that was the case, he would not hold back. The light on his body circulated, and the injuries he suffered quickly healed. In the next moment, a shocking light burst out from his eyes. "You guys have been controlled, and you no longer belong to the undead spirit race. I'll give you a quick death." He attacked with both hands, and it was as if they had turned into two peerless blades that slashed forward. In an instant, more than a dozen figures were split in half. These people's souls were destroyed, and there was no pain. The dead soul's abyss was incomparably cold. To be honest, although these people were controlled, they were still his clansmen. Now that he had attacked and killed his own clansmen, the Dead Souls Abyss was incomparably furious. He must find the mastermind behind the scenes and tear him into pieces. The Dead Souls Abyss was really too powerful. He swept through everything alone. Although he had suffered some injuries in the process, his injuries were quickly recovering. In the end, the people of the undead spirit race and the array formations in the sky were all torn apart. The Dead Souls Abyss's body was stained with blood, both his and his clansmen's. His face was a little pale, but it seemed that his life was not in danger. Damn it! He roared at the sky. However, at this moment, the Dead Souls flag in front of him erupted with light. Endless souls poured in, enveloping the Dead Souls Abyss. They crazily devoured the souls of the Dead Souls Abyss. The Dead Souls Abyss was heavily injured again, and he roared crazily. His soul had been wounded. He retreated, vomiting large mouthfuls of blood. Damn it, even you guys dare to attack me. He was really angry, and an extremely terrifying light burst out from his eyes. Eye of the Dead Souls, soul snatching. His eyes turned gray, without any luster. However, they emitted an extremely terrifying soul pressure. Wherever it passed, the surrounding resentful spirits seemed to have been cut by a divine sword. They kept shattering. Those resentful spirits roared crazily, wanting to escape. However, the Dead Souls Abyss was truly enraged. Under this pair of eyes, everything turned to ashes. In the end, the entire palace was torn apart and shattered. Only the Dead Souls Abyss was still standing there, but his current situation was also very bad. Previously, he had fought with his own clansmen. It caused his body to be injured. Now that he was fighting with these resentful spirits, his soul was injured. In short, he was severely injured. The people in the distance were shocked when they saw this scene. What was going on? Was the Dead Souls Abyss crazy? They were dumbstruck that they wanted to attack their own clansmen. However, the Dead Souls Abyss roared towards the sky. Damn it, no matter who you are, I will definitely find you and tear you into pieces. The people in the distance were shocked when they heard this. Their scalps went numb. Could it be that there was still a mastermind behind this? They didn't know that the mastermind behind this matter, Lin Xian, had already left. He came to a desolate mountain range, opened up a cave, and set up an array. Then, he sat down cross-legged. This time, he had obtained a lot of storage rings and resources from the undead spirit race. They were all thrown into the sword world to strengthen his world. Chapter 50-35. Lin Xian comprehended. His eye technique had become even more terrifying. Then, he adjusted his state to its peak and took a deep breath. His expression became extremely solemn. Next was the most important thing. He wanted to comprehend the demon's summoning scripture, which was the inheritance of the great emperor. Closing his eyes, countless information appeared in Lin Xian's mind. It seemed to have turned into a black book that floated in his mind. The demon's summoning scripture was created by the demon emperor. It was said that when one cultivated it to an extremely high level, one could summon the demon god from beyond the sky. It was extremely powerful. The great emperor's technique was very difficult to understand. Lin Xian had a lot of secret arts in his hands. 9 Yang divine body, immortality, seal of the fearless lion. He even had the newly obtained earth divine ability, shadowless heaven's net, and Azura sword technique. However, all of these added together were not as difficult to cultivate as the demon's summoning scripture. Lin Xian silently comprehended. It had been 3 years. He finally read through the earth ancient scripture and heaved a sigh of relief. It was too difficult. Even the great sage found it difficult to understand the ancient scripture. He wondered how terrifying a living great emperor would be. Lin Xian recalled the demon emperor he saw 100,000 years ago. That was a real great emperor. He gave him the feeling that he could kill him with a single glance. He had never felt this way before. Because his trump card was so powerful, he used to be the one who killed his enemies instantly. But now, someone could kill him instantly. This feeling was 100 times more dangerous than when he saw the Dragon Prince and Kun Pengzi. The great emperor was indeed an existence that stood at the peak. And now, Lin Xian wanted to cultivate the great emperor's absolute art inheritance. Lin Xian did not cultivate it completely. After all, he did not want to become a demon. This was different from his ultimate path. However, he could use it as a reference and even choose to cultivate it. The demon's summoning scripture not only had the internal scripture, but also various absolute arts. For example, there was the demon god's eye, demon god's wings, and demon god's sword. There was even the demon god's seal and demon god's finger. There were various absolute arts. According to the ancient scripture, the most important thing was to condense the illusion of the demon god from beyond the sky. This phantom was extremely difficult to condense. However, once it was unleashed, its might would be terrifying to the extreme. Lin Xian began to cultivate. In the blink of an eye, another 3 years had passed. He still did not appear and continued to cultivate in silence. Outside, the wind and clouds were changing. A new batch of geniuses had arrived in the underworld, and they had begun to rise to prominence and challenge the trials. As for the Dead Spirit clan, the Dead Spirit Abyss had also recovered from its injuries. He frantically searched for the culprit behind the scenes, but the culprit seemed to have disappeared. It did not appear again. Damn it! The abyss of dead souls roared at the sky. He didn't give up and continued to send people from the undead clan to investigate. As long as he felt the power of the Song of the Dead Souls, he would attack with all his might. As for him, he had entered the 4th level of the underworld. His goal was the Great Emperor, and he knew that there was already an emperor in this generation. He displayed his powerful strength. If he wanted to become a great emperor, he had to defeat those princes first. Therefore, he cultivated even more crazily. He even hoped to encounter some heaven-defying fortuitous encounters in the 4th level of Hell. The 7th year. In the 3rd level of Hell, a figure walked out of the ruins. It was a monkey with a metal rod in his hand. The moment he came out, he roared at the sky and shattered the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The people in the 3rd level were incomparably terrified. In an instant, countless news spread rapidly. Someone had actually walked out of the Azura ruins. Heavens, who was it? What did he obtain? Did he obtain the Azura inheritance? Countless voices were heard, and countless people came to investigate. In the end, they were killed by the monkey with a large metal rod. A bunch of flies, scram for old sun. The monkey in Young Tian roared. He had also spent a lot of effort to walk out of the Azura ruins. After coming out, he began to search for Lin Xian's whereabouts. Brother Lin still hadn't come out. Impossible, could it be that he was still trapped inside? The monkey came out naturally because the Azura race had something to do with time. With his current strength, he still couldn't deal with time. Therefore, he could only search outside. In the end, he still couldn't find any traces of Lin Xian. He sighed. Perhaps he had already come out. Moreover, Brother Lin had many trump cards, so it shouldn't be a problem. The monkey wasn't too sure at first, but when he met the undead race, he understood. Because the undead race had their eyes on him, and he had killed several great sage of the undead race. He also received a piece of news. He wasn't the first to be hunted down. A few years ago, there was a young man who had walked out of the Azura ruins like him. At that time, they had also chased after that young man. In fact, that young man had even destroyed a palace. After the monkey heard this, he immediately laughed. Ha, it must be Brother Lin's brother. He was happy and surprised at the same time. Lin Xian had actually come out earlier than him. This was too unbelievable. He smashed these great saints of the necromancers to death. The monkey snorted coldly. How dare you attack my brother? You must be tired of living. He also attacked aggressively and destroyed another palace. This caused a shock in the underworld. Another person dared to challenge the undead race. The undead race was going crazy. First, they were slapped in the face by a young man, and now, they were being slapped in the face by a monkey. They couldn't stand it. They summoned the Dead Soul's Abyss. These people began to summon frantically. On the 4th level of Hell. The Dead Soul's Abyss returned immediately after receiving the news. When he arrived, he realized that it wasn't the person he wanted to see. It was a monkey. However, he would make the undead race regret it for daring to challenge them. Regardless of whether it was a human or a monkey, they would definitely die. Kneel down and accept your death. The Dead Soul's Abyss looked at Sun Qitian and shouted coldly. Sun Qitian sneered. You have a taste of my stick. He struck out and the iron staff swept across the world as if it had turned into a peerless divine weapon. It directly enveloped the Dead Soul's Abyss. The Dead Soul's Abyss body was torn apart. The surrounding people were shocked. Wasn't he killed? That's impossible. Isn't he the #1 genius of the undead race? How could he be killed so easily? This monkey is too terrifying. Sun Qitian snorted coldly. What a weak ant. He turned around and wanted to leave. However, at the next moment, he frowned because there was a sneer in the world. I think you're the ant. I'm an immortal existence. You can't hurt me at all. Sun Qitian suddenly turned around and found that the body that had been torn apart had turned into light in the form of countless souls. Then, they condensed together and became a human figure again. The undead body. Sun Qitian furrowed his brows tightly. The Dead Soul's Abyss sneered. That's right, I have the undead body. How are you going to kill me without a trace? His physique was extremely terrifying. It was the Archean physique. Therefore, this injury couldn't kill him at all. The people in the distance were shocked. As expected of the Dead Soul's Abyss, he was indeed heaven-defying. His bloodline and physique could be said to be the strongest person below the arch. Chapter 50-36. How dare you claim to be immortal? Sun Qitian sneered. Today, I, old Sun, will destroy your soul. He roared angrily and waved his iron staff again, covering the front. The body of the Dead Soul's Abyss shattered again, turning into countless cracks. Each of the fragments formed a soul, emitting a terrifying aura. Damn it, I, old Sun, will destroy you. Heaven's wrath. He roared at the sky, and a terrifying sound was heard. It was enough to shock the past and present. Retreat. The spectators in the distance retreated frantically. Those who retreated slowly were torn into pieces by the sound. Blood mist fell from the sky. The people of the Dead Soul's race also knelt on the ground in horror. It was too terrifying. A roar that could destroy the world. Just what kind of divine being was this monkey? The Dead Soul's Abyss also roared coldly. Each of the souls he condensed was holding a scythe of death. Then, they charged forward. Thousands of death scythes gathered and overlapped with each other, colliding with the terrifying sound. The confrontation between the two was earth-shattering. The spectators were dumbfounded. It was too terrifying. The Dead Souls Abyss was not the #1 genius. The monkey was also terrifying. The unique skills that he used were really terrifying. After one move, the two of them fought again. They either fought in close combat or from afar. All kinds of unique skills emerged. The spectators were dumbfounded. Were they really just two young people? Why did it feel like two young emperors were fighting? This was truly a fierce battle between a dragon and a tiger. Countless experts of the underworld nodded their heads as they watched this scene. They heard that there was a crown prince in St. Yuan ancient city, and the dragon prince who was eyeing them covetously. The underworld had the emperor of the underworld, but there was no son of the underworld. The Dead Souls Abyss was equivalent to an uncrowned king. This title was too heavy. It was equivalent to treating the Dead Souls Abyss as a crown prince. However, the other party was indeed qualified. The strength that the other party displayed was really powerful. Perhaps even a great sage in the middle stage would be torn to pieces easily. However, what was more shocking was the monkey. The Dead Souls Abyss bloodline was not ordinary. That was why he was so terrifying. But what was the origin of this monkey? It was too terrifying. His chi and blood shocked the heavens and earth. The iron cudgel in his hand swept out in all directions. It was as if the great sage was an ant facing a dragon. There was no way he could resist at all. Even if it was the Dead Souls Abyss, it was still being beaten up to the point where its blood was rumbling and it was howling madly. Damn it, go to hell. The Dead Souls Abyss roared angrily, and endless grey laws appeared on his body. It was as if he had transformed into the god of death as he charged forward. There were tens of thousands of scythes beside him, which turned into a terrifying light. It could take away one's life force. At this moment, everyone was looking up. I, old son, am not afraid of you. The monkey was more direct. He waved the iron cudgel in his hand as if an ancient god had come back to life. He waved his hand 9 times in a row, shattering heaven and earth in an unpredictable manner. Even lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Everyone felt their blood run cold. The entire world was shattering, turning into chaos. Martial Dao Heavenly Eye. At this moment, Sun Chitian let out a furious roar as his eyes shone with golden light. Golden flames descended, igniting the 9 heavens. The surrounding vengeful spirits screamed crazily and turned into black smoke. What is this? At this moment, everyone from the underworld felt a chill run down their spines. The other party's golden eyes and golden flames were too terrifying. It gave them a great sense of threat. It was as if it was born to restrain them. The Dead Souls Abyss body was also enveloped by the golden flames and instantly burned. He screamed as half of his body turned into ashes. His eyes were filled with horror. Damn it, who are you? Who are you? He was too shocked. In the younger generation of the entire underworld, there were no more than 3 people who could compete with him. But now, there was someone who could suppress him. Moreover, he had been completely restrained by it. The other party's gaze was really terrifying. It easily pierced through his body. Damn it! The Dead Souls Abyss turned around and left. There was no way to fight. The moment the Martial Dao Heavenly Eye appeared, it was really too strong to restrain him. Did he escape? Countless powerhouses of the underworld looked at this scene with shock. However, they did not feel that the Dead Souls Abyss had lost, because everyone felt a sense of horror. Whether it was the young geniuses or the older powerhouses, they were all looking at the monkey with awe. They even decided that if there was a chance, they would definitely kill the other party. Because this person was the nemesis of all the underworld. The monkey sneered. Want to run? Stay here for me, old son. The martial Tao Heavenly Eye attacked again and pierced through the other party's body. Then, the iron staff swept across and directly smashed the dead soul's abyss into pieces. The dead soul's abyss was severely injured. His broken body turned into countless souls. They flew in all directions and finally escaped. Humph, an ant. The monkey snorted. Countless people were shocked, and there were even people who were secretly watching the monkey. But Sun Qitian was still not afraid. What happened 5 days later shocked the entire underworld. Sun Qitian was being hunted down. The one who attacked was in existence at the peak of the Great Sage. It was the top Great Sage of the undead race. He was extremely powerful. The other party had a dead soul's pagoda. He attacked Sun Qitian aggressively. Although Sun Qitian was powerful, he was only at the early stage of the Great Sage. Facing the peak of the Great Sage, he was still injured. Even the martial Tao Heavenly Eye could not hurt the peak of the Great Sage this time. Sun Qitian could only retreat. The peak of the Great Sage wanted to completely kill Sun Qitian. But he realized that he could not do it. Damn it. In the end, Sun Qitian escaped with injuries and left a message. When I, old Sun, reach the peak, it will be the time of the undead race's destruction. As soon as these words came out, the underworld was shocked. The pupils of the undead race also shrank. The peak of the Great Sage even gave an order. Find. Even if he ran to the end of the world, he had to find him. And he swore that the next time he attacked, it would not be just a peak of the Great Sage. At least 5 peak of the Great Sage were needed to kill him. Destroy the other party's soul. It was not only the undead race. Some powerful families and sects in the underworld felt that Sun Qitian was a scourge. They were also secretly looking for him. They even formed an alliance. 10 peak of the Great Sage attacked together and swept the world. In the end, they did not find the other party. This made their faces turn ugly. Could it be that the other party had already left the underworld? Everyone's heart was heavy. If they let the other party's strength break through again in the future, he would come back and kill them. How many of them could resist him? The atmosphere of the undead race was also solemn. However, the dead soul's abyss said, "Humph, his eyes are too strange. Other than that, I am not afraid. As long as I find a magic treasure to block that pair of eyes, I can kill him with my sword." The undead race regained their hope. The dead soul's abyss was their family's hope. He would definitely become a great emperor in the future. No matter how strong the other party was, he was no match for him. Chapter 50-37. Lin Xian didn't know about all of this. At this moment, Lin Xian was still in seclusion. He had entered the sword world to cultivate the demon summoning scripture. In the blink of an eye, it was already the 10th year. Lin Xian's demon summoning scripture was only at the entry level. However, because he cultivated the demon summoning scripture, it allowed him to cultivate Shadowless Heaven's Net and Shura sword even faster. The Shura sword art was already able to unleash the third sword. The Shadowless Heaven's Net movement technique had become even more unpredictable than before. In addition, there was another ability in the demon summoning scripture, which was the Wings of the Demon God. Although they were both movement techniques, the two were different. The Shadowless Heaven's Net was equivalent to dodging quickly within a certain range. As for the Wings of the Demon God, it was extremely fast when flying in a straight line. Both had their own strengths. In addition to the Wings of the Demon God, there was also the Seal of the Demon God. It could transform into a large seal, which was a powerful attack. The Song of the Demon God. It was different from the previous Song of the Dead. The Song of the Dead was equivalent to a mark, which was used to chase after the enemy. However, the song of the demon god was an attack. Soul attack. When the song was played, the soul would instantly collapse. At that time, when combined with Lin Xian's heavenly secret divine eyes, the power would increase by several times. Other than that, there were also many divine abilities. As expected of the inheritance of the great emperor, it was really too powerful. Now, Lin Xian could finally experience the terror of those emperors. Even if a great emperor died, he could still preserve his family for tens of millions of years. It had been 10 years, it was time to go out and take a look. Lin Xian's current strength had increased by leaps and bounds. He was much stronger than before. Moreover, he didn't know what was going on outside. He would look for Monkey King and see the other situations in hell. If there was nothing special, Lin Xian was prepared to return to wholly distant ancient city. After all, his goal was the Dragon Prince. Thinking of this, Lin Xian walked out. At the same time, the underworld had changed in the past 10 years, especially the 18 levels of hell. There was also a new batch of cultivators. The first level of the underworld, Mirage. At this moment, another batch of people had recruited another batch of cultivators. Their catoptric deflection was even stronger than before. It could be said that there were not many sects on the first level that could contend against them. Even now, Catoptric Deflection was preparing to enter the second level and develop his own forces there. In the Catoptric Deflection, a few figures were chatting beside the lake. One of them said, "Have you heard? The monkey that had swept through the undead spirit race and even severely injured the dead spirit abyss. It has something to do with our illusionary flower, Moon Clan." Really? That monkey was too heaven-defying. He definitely had the talent of a young great emperor. It was no wonder that the Dead Souls Abyss was defeated by him. There are also people who say that the monkey's martial Dao Heavenly Eye is too terrifying, and is specifically used to restrain people from the underworld. Otherwise, the Dead Souls Abyss would not have been defeated so thoroughly. They might even win. Voices sounded one after another. However, at this moment, a big man walked over and said with a smile, "What do you know?" Before that monkey, there was another person who had swept through the palace of the Undead Spirit Clan. "That's a member of our illusionary flowers," reflected Moon. "What? Our Catoptric Deflection actually has such an awesome person?" When the others heard this, they were extremely shocked. They had just joined a few years ago, so they didn't know what had happened before. And this big man was the one who had followed Nero, Lin Xian, and the others to carry out the mission together. Therefore, he had naturally seen Lin Xian and knew that Lin Xian had saved the Monkey King. The big man said, "Not only that. Do you know that monkey? She was saved by the people from the illusionary flowers, water and moon. Which great god is it?" Many people were shocked. The big man said with a smile. His name was Lin Wudi. Next, the big man told them what had happened back then. Although he only gave a rough description, the people around him were extremely shocked after hearing it. "Oh God, Lin Wudi is actually so powerful. Do you think these two people are the Emperor's sons?" Someone asked. The big man said that he didn't know. Even if they weren't the Emperor's sons, they were geniuses who weren't far off. In the future, they were destined to stand at the peak of the universe. Standing at the peak. With just the two of them. They were destined to go to the 18th level of hell. At this moment, a cold voice sounded. The people of the illusionary realm were stunned. Many people's faces darkened. Because according to the big man, Lin Wudi was a member of the illusionary realm. Now that someone was looking down on Lin Wudi, they were looking down on the illusionary realm. In an instant, they were furious. "Who are you? Get out here." "That's right, who are you? How dare you look down on the people of the illusionary realm? Why can't young Master Lin and the Monkey King stand at the peak of the world? What is the illusionary realm? I can destroy it with one hand. Damn it, how dare you look down on the illusionary realm? The saints were instantly enraged. They had already joined the illusionary realm, so they naturally had to protect the reputation of their sect. Therefore, at this moment, when they heard the words of the person in front of them, their killing intent instantly surged. One after another, extremely terrifying laws swept between heaven and earth. How dare you ants make a move against me? The mysterious figure in front of them curled the corners of his mouth into a disdainful smile. The founder of the illusionary realm couldn't even block 3 of my moves back then. Do you think that ants like you can block a single finger of mine? It's as easy as flipping my hand if I want to kill you. How is that possible? The surrounding members were all stunned. The founder of the illusionary realm couldn't block 3 moves from the other party. What a joke. Although they hadn't seen their founder yet, to be able to create the illusionary realm, he was definitely an extremely terrifying expert. The burly man from before furrowed his brows tightly. The person in front of him didn't seem to be lying. Could it be that he was really an extremely terrifying existence? The mysterious figure in front of them ignored the saints. Instead, he looked at the lake further away. He said, "This is the territory of the illusionary realm, right?" There was an extremely terrifying array around it. He walked to the left, and with one step, he instantly surpassed the surrounding saints. He came to the top of the lake. He looked around. Not bad, it seemed that the power of the array had increased over the years. When the surrounding saints saw this scene, they all frowned. Someone sneered, "What are you trying to do? Are you trying to attack our illusionary realm? Don't joke around. Our array is not something that you can resist." Before they could finish speaking, they were all stunned. The mysterious man in front of them stretched out a finger and gently waved it. The surrounding array kept shattering. The entire lake was split in half by him. How was that possible? The people of the illusionary realm widened their eyes in disbelief. If they didn't have a token, they wouldn't be able to enter these arrays at all. Even great sages would be killed in body and soul. But now, the other party had easily broken through. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.